you for being here, sir.
Of course. Appreciate you. Of course.
Everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Loading with Will and Finn. We are back in studio again, and we have an Orange County native guest here with us this week. His name is Matt SAUCEDO, longtime friend of mine from back in the day.
He braved the traffic to come down here from
He made
Newport.
the long drive up.
That's
Thanks
love.
a lot for being here, man. It means a lot.
Of course.
So, yeah, go ahead.
The traffic wasn't that bad getting up here. Thank you, Waze, so much
Shout out to
for
Wade.
taking me the proper route and not going straight up the 405.
Yeah.
That would have been a living
The
nightmare,
thing
honestly.
is, going to high school every day, there's like an hour-long commute to get in from where we live, or from where I moved. And Waze will take you, there's 100 different ways to get to Loyola High School from this location, and I've taken all of them, probably. different routes every week.
See, I'm not a Waze guy, actually.
You're not a Waze guy?
No, because I had one Waze experience that like literally turned me off to the whole thing. It was one of those games where it was like Barcelona versus like Galaxy or something like that downtown. You know
Okay.
how like
one of those showcase
Barcelona, just
international
one of those
friendlies.
showcase
Yeah.
things, and I was like, that's got tickets to that with my cousins and uncle and my dad. Really stoked to like go out there, and we got stuck in traffic with Waze. And you could literally tell everyone was using Waze because everyone was making turns.
The
like,
same turn.
it would give you quick updates like,
Dude,
say
you
3
notice
minutes and
sometimes.
turn here. And all of a sudden, everyone merges into
Yeah.
this lane. And we didn't go to the game. We literally missed the
Really?
game. Like, it was like we were stuck in traffic maybe a mile and a half away from the stadium the entire time.
I do recognize that when you use Waze, you have to. They basically have a base assumption that you have zero fear as a driver because they'll be like, "Yeah, carve through LA and then make this insane left turn across 8 lanes on Olympic Avenue in LA." Or
I
on
definitely had some close calls coming up here. I was bobbing and weaving like
Yes.
Muhammad Ali over here.
Dude,
Say
I
what you
can't.
want.
I don't actually like using maps at all.
No.
I'm like a homing pigeon. Once I do something once,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
Like that
Well,
same
Finn,
route.
you're
forever.
born in the city. You probably know it way better.
Yeah.
Matt doesn't make his way up here very often.
That's
You
very
do.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would use it to get to OC. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So Matt is actually an OG subscriber to the pod. Thanks a lot, man. Like when we first announced it, like almost over 2 months ago now. It's crazy that it's been that long. But he DM'd me on Insta and he's like, super stoked for you, man. Would really love to be on one day. So I'm really stoked we can get him in for episode 7 as an OG supporter.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate you guys bringing me on so I can kind of explain what I'm doing right now, and I hope that you guys like it. I find it really interesting, so maybe my enthusiasm will make you guys equally as interested as I am.
Yes,
so
sir.
It's a episode we're really excited about because it's a pretty opaque field that Matt's a professional in, really.
Mhm.
And so I have a feeling most people aren't gonna know a whole lot about it. I know I
Right.
don't. So it's gonna be nice to get a little more.
What
transparency.
we're mapping right now is Matt is embarking on a film career right now where he is very interested in the creative process as far as filmmaking and screenwriting goes. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So I write primarily scripts and try and be as creative as possible and think outside the box, and little sparks of inspiration just come, I swear, out of nowhere. I mean, most of my inspiration, I'll be sitting in the shower, I'll be like, wow, that's a really good idea, I should write this down.
Shower thoughts are the best thought of the day. I'm not
Shower
gonna lie.
thoughts.
Shower thoughts and when you're trying to go to bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as you go to bed. I actually have a couple buddies that keep notepads by their
Like
bed.
dream journals?
That I have,
I forget
I have
what
a
movie.
little black journal. I wish I would have brought it up with me today.
That'd be dope.
Just to like
It's-
fumble through them and read
Oh
some
yeah,
of them?
and I have like a couple things where I've written down like character names or like tiny little ideas, and some of the times half of it's just completely crossed out.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I'll do it at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll wake up and be like, that's a really good idea. Write it down, and then I'll go in the morning, be like, look at it again. Wow, that was a horrible idea.
Yeah.
What was I
I was
thinking?
too tired.
What state of mind was I in?
Yeah, exactly.
So how long have you been writing for?
So I originally in like middle school, I've always been told like you are not good at writing like essays and all that stuff, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I can't write a research paper
Sure.
or an essay to save my life, but I think in the time during high school, I started coming up with more creative things, and I started realizing maybe I should direct my writing towards a different type of writing, which is script writing.
Right.
So I looked up how to properly write a script, and there's a lot of programs out there. One free program is called Celtics, and they have the proper form of like you can hit space and enter and all that stuff, and it will transfer from an action line to a dialogue line. And there's other programs. The program I use is Final Draft, which is industry standard. And it's so complicated to. There's so many more things that you can do through the program, like coordinating with other script writers and stuff, and all the directors.
Versus like just typing on a Word doc, you're saying, right?
Yeah, I if you are wanting to write a script and you want to try and do it on like a Google Docs, don't do it. It's a waste of time, and you're going to take so much more time and be more frustrated than if you went to the free program, and there's tons of them out there that you can find. So just use those programs, and the flow of how you write will be so much easier.
So
that's good advice.
You grew up always really into writing, right?
Yeah.
And you weren't discouraged by research papers and stuff like that? Because I loved writing growing up, but then I did research papers, and I'm like, this sucks the fun out of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was just kind of a task to do, and it made me not like writing things anymore. Like,
yeah, so I think I realized that, when you're going to college, that there are papers that you have to write that you don't want to write.
Sure.
But if you get those done and you get those out of the way, you have more time to write about something that you actually like.
Care about, yeah.
And some of the times I don't really necessarily write everything that I've come up with, and I just kind of let it sit and fester, because I have to let the ideas kind of formulate a little bit longer before I really start diving down into the process of writing a script. And I'll go through that in a little bit of what my process is for how I actually get from the idea that's in my mind down to however many pages I write in a script.
Yes.
If you could, what for you would be like a general demarcation line of an idea that you will move forward with? Like how much of a plot in your head do you have to be able to conceive and believe in and be excited about in order to move forward with an idea of yours, versus what's the demarcation on the short side?
Well, I think, honestly, for the past scripts that I've written, I have had those ideas in my mind for a while. Like, one of the scripts I wrote, it's called Ash and Cash, and it's a working title, but I had that in my mind for like 5 years.
Okay.
I had been formulating how I would get to where it is today for like a really long time, and the mark, and it's a very different for many different people, and I have to think of the entire thing before I even start.
Pen to paper.
Pen to paper, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to ask, is it kind of something where you come up with like an idea, you're like, this would be a great ending? Or like, and you work to get there? Or is it more like you start with the beginning, or just an interesting, I don't even know where you would start, you know
like
what I mean?
How Dave Chappelle writes his jokes, right? Punchline first, and then
puts
writes the joke later, remember? And then,
So, I mean, there's, with some ideas, it will start somewhere in the middle, like how you say the punchline, or I'll think of like big action scenes, or a big part at the end, or the big finish, or how they walk off. But once I really start writing it, it is so subject to change all the time. I literally will go through with, I think one of the scripts I wrote, Tracks, I rewrote it probably like 10, maybe 15 times, all the way through. I had to, I scrapped it, I think, completely on the 4th draft.
Wow.
I like completely scrapped it, and I was just like, this is not working. I gotta restart from the beginning and work my way through it.
It must require a lot of patience.
It does, because I mean, like, it, like they say, Rome wasn't built in a night. So or in a day, either way.
Or night, probably.
Either
Be a
night,
pain
either
in the
way.
ass
It
to
probably
work
took
at
a
night.
couple of
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
It'd be a lot cooler, I'll tell you that.
A
Not as
pop-up.
much.
But yeah,
Pop
that
up
must
Metropolis.
require a ton of patience. I mean, like, personally, coming from my thing, I think if I had done 4 drafts on something and then had to completely redo it.
Yeah.
Do you
Let's
keep
be
those
100%
bones?
honest right now. On every college paper you wrote,
Yeah.
how many drafts on average?
1.
I was gonna say.
I finished
I was
it,
gonna
didn't
say-
reread it because I go, guess what? I just read this thing. Why would I need
I
to
would
read what I
love.
just
I
read?
would love to hear from a YouTube commenter if this is just us in general, or if we're just that bad that I don't think I ever wrote a second draft.
I think I've gone through, like...
I
with-
checked for comma mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, like besides like grammar and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Once I was done with it, I was done with it.
Thank the Lord for Grammarly, because
Yeah.
that honestly saves my ass so many times. Like, it's ridiculous for essays and all that stuff,
Yeah.
because I'll maybe do 2 drafts on, like, a college essay, but that's about it.
Yeah,
Respect.
max 2.
Max 2. Oh, yeah.
On like the
Easy.
final paper, I'll look at it again.
Yeah.
It's like a max 2 if like it's required to have a rough draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
If, if a peer
Dude.
editing is like somehow a part of it, like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people even just submit the same thing again. Like, you know, I don't know. Well, I want to provide some context to Matt and I's friendship for anybody who has known me beyond my OC years. But Matt and I were like best buddies in elementary school. We went to this private school, actually where Kobe Bryant and his family used to go. Maybe we can talk about that for a sec.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant and his family would go to our church, every Sunday on game day. I mentioned this in episode 1. And that's where we went to elementary school, and he lived in the neighborhood right next to it. So we would always ride our bikes to like back to his house and hang out after school on Fridays and stuff. We would organize this stuff, and we were kind of like into doing stuff a little more crazy than other kids our age. So we were like going to skate parks, going to the wedge and doing stuff in the water.
kooky
And-
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah. just trying to push the limits as much as our parents would allow. And so one particular day, I was just thinking about some funny Matt stories, like as I was preparing for this podcast. And the first one that came to mind was we were at his house that was on like a pretty steep hill, and he bought this little plastic ramp, and we were riding our bikes on it. And the first time he just shoots down there, going like 20 miles an hour, sends it like 5 or 6 feet in the air, just gets scared, bails on his bike, and just lands chin down and completely busts his chin wide open. And we're like 10 years old.
I think it was like in 2nd grade when that happened, and I got like these wooden ramps for some reason, and I remember taking the BMX bike, and I swear to God, probably halfway up the hill, and I bombed the hill going down towards the ramp, and I bunny hopped on the BMX bike, one of those like little kid ones or something like that, and I got too high up in the air, and I got freaked out by it. I remember bailing off the bike to the side, and I belly flopped onto the concrete. I split my chin open.
Did you make a noise when you hit the ground?
There was a loud thud.
Did you skip off the
ground?
ground?
It was a scrape.
Were you like
it was a solid scrape.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
man. That was tough.
So what happened afterwards was even worse. So not only did I split my chin open, and I have it doesn't grow. I can't grow hair right there. And I bit all 4 of my back molars in half.
Oh, no.
Yo, what?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Yeah. If you put enough force on your teeth.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
I've
it's
done
just
so much
your jaw
damage
just
here.
slamming on the
I'm
ground.
surprised. And literally, I pushed my condyles, which is the jawbone right here,
Dude, I
and
forgot
I
about that.
pushed it up into my skull.
Oh, bro. Okay, this is getting gnarly.
And I broke my jaw. And I remember, like,
You way underplayed this story.
Oh,
You
yeah.
told it.
Dude, he didn't tell me about all this stuff.
Your homie
No.
got messed
Dude, my
up.
memory, I
Oh,
just
yeah.
remember him busting his chin open and having to hold it on the way to the ER.
One of the gnarly parts was, so I spit out all my teeth that were, like, from my back molars in half. And I had them in my hand, and I walk up to my mom, and I'm just bleeding from my chin, bleeding from my mouth, and I hand her my teeth, and she's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "My teeth."
I'm in so much pain.
Oh, I'm in so much pain, Mom.
The worst part about it was, so when I went to the ER, he was there, and his mom had to come pick him up from the hospital. The doctors had no clue that I had broke my jaw. And they like, oh, he just split his chin open. And I went to a specialist the next day. They took an x-ray and they're like, yeah, his jaw's broken. What are you talking about?
You were just in so much pain.
Well, dude,
Oh, yeah.
it seems like if when you're telling them the story of how it happened, you're like, I bailed and landed face first on the concrete and my chin is split open. Like, broken jaw is like gotta be one of the first things that comes to mind.
Yeah,
I would
if you're
imagine.
a medical professional.
If you're
that
flying
doesn't
from
seem-
like 7 feet in the
that
air,
seems like a
onto
no-brainer, guy.
concrete.
Yeah. Well, the wild part was like he had that gnarly injury. Like we're talking like what, second grade.
Yeah.
A little bit later, like maybe a month later, like I'm bombing a hill right next to my house, get speed wobbles on my skateboard. The exact same thing happens to me. I bust my chin open, need stitches, and have a full side of the face scar.
Oh.
The whole right at the beginning of summer,
God.
and I couldn't go out. I couldn't do junior guards that summer because like basically it like the scar tissue forms as like kind of like a sunburn.
Sure.
So you have to stand. They tell you to stay inside and just put a bunch of sunblock on it. And so I was pretty much a homebody for that whole summer. It sucked.
Whenever I was a little kid and I got injured, before I registered pain, the first thought in my mind was my parents are going to be so mad at me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first thought in my mind.
I know,
It would
dude.
literally just be like,
That's thought
they're
number
going to
one.
ask me how I did this, and they're not going to like this answer. They're going to be like,
Oh
why are
my
you being
God.
dumb? You know what I mean? Like,
So
Yeah.
what is the gnarliest injury you had?
I broke a lot of bones as a kid.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff. I mean, most recently I broke a bone trying to do a wheelie on a road bike.
Oh, God.
Which is really dumb. It has no suspension. I was just kind of sending it. I got out of class. I was like really stoked. I was like, I haven't done a wheelie in a bit. Let's see if I can still do one. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
Totally ate it in front of this huge group of girls too. They were like,
Oh,
bet.
no.
"Are you okay?" They're like, "Are you okay?" And as soon as I landed, I'm like, "Oh, it's broke."
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, well, that could
it
play to your
pulled a
part,
snap,
though.
Heard it. No, I got back
Oh,
up that
no.
bike.
Yeah,
And tried
and
to
you're
pedal
just
up.
like can't even put any pressure
Yeah,
on it.
and I like tried to grab the
You're like
handle, I'm
waving,
like,
like you're
like,
waving, and your
yeah.
arm is like snapped, like 90
Yeah.
degrees, right? Like yeah, I'm fine.
I'm like, no, I'm cool, thanks though. And I'm just like, I want to get out of there.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like,
I recently ate shit because I like to
better.
run front and canyon, and I have this giant scar right here on my elbow because like I very much like ate it running downhill, going way too fast, being super dumb. Scraped my whole knee, like arm. It wasn't like any broken bones or anything, but I don't know. I imagine you broke a lot of bones growing up.
Yeah, so, let's see.
is that on brand for you?
Yes,
I-
honestly.
From what I can remember in
I'm
the skate
very-
park, you were pretty much
Yeah, I was
either injured or just trying to be.
Yeah, like honestly, I mean, through playing lacrosse, I've broken every single one of my, almost every single one of my fingers. I've broken my nose. That one was a really dumb injury. I was diving into a pool and I kneed myself in the face, trying to tuck, and I just pushed my septum out of its socket. And I remember once again back in the ER.
I didn't even know septums had sockets.
Yeah, I
Did they?
guess.
I guess.
And it
Back in the ER.
And back in the ER, I swear to God, I have a frequent flyer pass there. So, like, literally,
You're
I
a
just...
regular.
They're like, you again.
Yeah, again.
We meet
they-
again.
Again, the ER is like, nah, your nose isn't broken. It's just really swollen. Go to the
Are you
specialist
talking
the
about
next
the
day.
Hoagie ER?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah,
They're supposed
right?
to be like a top hospital in the
Right?
world.
And I
Some
go
of the
back.
top ones are the busiest ones, and I feel like they kind of just let shit slide.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, they let it slide a little bit. But that's the I mean, like, and then what else have I done? I have, like, 3 or 4 concussions. Never really... Oh, I've broken both my ankles
Same.
multiple
Ow,
times.
dude. Your
Yeah.
ankle?
Yeah.
One from lacrosse, a couple from lacrosse, and then I think one was just a dumb trampoline accident. Where I
Who
was
was
trying-
it? Kevin Ware? That had that
Dude.
broken ankle? That was
It
literally
wasn't.
one of the
It wasn't
gnarliest
an
things.
ankle. It was his leg that just snapped.
Was it?
Oh,
Yeah.
That was gnarly.
was like-
That's still
That was
one of the
against
gnarliest
Michigan, dude.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was nasty.
I'd say probably my least comfortable break was I was at Catalina Island messing around with my friends, and I ran up this children's slide,
Yeah.
but it was like late at night, and it was like the slide was wet, so I literally fell off this like 6-foot slide onto my arm, and we were all having a good time. I didn't want to be the kid that's like, I'm in really bad pain.
Yeah.
Like, this is like not okay. And you know, broken bones at night, how much worse they are. Like for some reason, the first time you broke a bone that night is
I've never broken a bone
miserable.
no, can't say I'm
Really?
part of that party.
I've broken like my arms a bunch of times,
Yeah.
and the nighttime, for some reason, you can feel your heartbeat in your arm. It's just
Oh.
like, and it's like
That's terrible.
it hurts so bad. And I was trying to like be like just cool with it. We were going jet skiing and stuff, and I was trying
Yeah.
to jet ski, but like it felt like someone was ripping my arm out of my body. It was
oh my
like
God.
I don't know. Did you
I spent
guys?
3 days on a boat.
So
It
there's
was,
like
so. It was
I don't know if it's a thing in the LA area, Finn. Maybe you heard about it, but there's like a lot of kids do Boy Scouts, right, as like a way to like be
Sure.
in tune with nature and be doing like cool activities out of school.
Yeah.
But in Orange County, there's this thing called Indian Guides. Did you do Indian Guides?
Yeah,
I've
Yeah.
heard of it.
I don't know, what tribe were you in?
I was a tiger shark.
You're a tiger shark?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a Teton. So it's kind of
That's
cool. There's like this
That's so sick.
they're like basically all these dads, right? That like trying to go on these camping trips, and like it's actually like an organization, if you can imagine. Like, and there's different pockets of friend groups that create different tribes.
It's kind of like a Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
kind of.
similar.
Like
similar.
considered a Boy Scout troop, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of like the way to do it. It's kind of based on where you live. Like there's different neighborhoods. Like for instance, where I was from, the Port Streets, there's a tribe for each different phase, and there's 3 phases. So the Teton tribe was for phase 1 where I lived, and there are a bunch of like dads from the area that all did that. But like the 2 major trips from it were you would go to Catalina Island for a weekend.
Oh yeah.
So that's like when you brought up
Would you
Catalina.
go to the camp?
Yeah.
Oh, that camp's
so
lit.
Yeah.
the you camp out there, and like obviously there's all these cool like trails to run around and basically fuck around at for the whole weekend.
Can I say something? That camp actually somehow recently got brought up to me this week. I was talking about Catalina, and this girl said she has an idea for her wedding, where she wants her wedding to be on Catalina, and basically everyone just gets to like go do archery and just like redo all the camp stuff.
Damn.
But as an adult, doesn't
That
that
would
sound
be dude.
so lit?
Imagine
Oh.
making your like wedding like Indian Guides weekend.
That'd be
That's what
crazy.
she's
super
thinking.
lit.
Isn't
Oh
that
my
so
God.
Dude, because it's so sick. Like all the dads stay up and like play poker at night. Like everywhere you go, there's different poker games going
That's
on.
awesome.
And like when you get older, you're like trying to buy in. And,
Oh
like,
yeah.
sometimes you mob to other camps at night. Or the flag stealing was the craziest part.
Okay, I have a really
about that.
I have a really good story. So
Everybody flies a flag at their
Yeah.
base camp, right?
Everybody
And-
has their tribe's flag. So like Tiger Sharks had their flag,
Yeah.
Mohawks had their flag. So we were our tribe, Tiger Sharks, were right across a bridge from
yeah.
this or the Mohawks or something like that. And I remember I went on a solo mission to retrieve this flag.
Yeah.
And I climbed up on one of the picnic areas where the flag was, and I'm climbing up this pole trying to get the flag. Next thing you know, I'm being hailed with like water balloons, squirt
Yeah,
guns.
dude, it's hilarious.
Some kid thought it was funny and grabbed a gallon of like potato salad and was scooping it up by his hand and going whoosh.
That
and
is
just-
funny. That kid's correct.
Oh yeah, it was just covering me in
Yeah,
potato
because it's like
salad.
super embarrassing if your flag gets stolen. It means
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can't protect it.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, but
I mean,
there's
clearly these guys had prepared ammunition.
all
You know
throughout
what
the
I mean?
night.
It was
The
like
potato
water
salad
balloon
was
on
all
lock.
throughout
locked
the
and
night,
loaded.
bro. Like
Oh, yeah.
there are different like it's like search and destroy, bro. It's like different plans are being made to like capture different tribes' flags. And
Oh
like
yeah.
some
That's
people
awesome.
like
That is
some
so
flags
cool.
are like notoriously like super easy to get. You know, like just because of where they keep it every
They're like,
year.
yeah, that camp's a mess. Like,
Yeah.
that
Or
tribe,
like-
that tribe is
Or
a
they
total
like they
mess.
kind of like try to draw in like people to steal it, and then like
Just go
and then they'll
all
like
out.
they'll essentially like shit on you, like get out of here, you're not stealing
Yeah.
the flag.
That'd be the Finn Vici strategy.
Uh,
Pretend like it would just be super
yeah.
easy, but then like
Because there's dads
Locked and loaded
dads
with
up
water balloons.
literally till dawn playing poker, like they like obsessively almost at every camp.
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's
But
so
that
much
was
fun.
like one of my favorite memories. And there's this sick baseball in Catalina. There's a baseball tournament. So
Yes. Yeah.
every tribe, throughout the tournament, there's an active high pitched softball game that's being played. That's like March Madness style, like double elimination. So that's like a really fun thing. And then at Camp Pendleton, there's like a beach soccer event that happens too.
Yes. Yeah. That's
and,
huge.
and they have it right next to where the not the SEALs, but like different like base camp is at Camp Pendleton, and you get to do the ropes course that they have to.
Yeah.
And that shit sucks. It's-
Yeah,
I had a
it's very,
great time with that.
like-
I don't know.
like
about
crawling
you.
through
Don't
the
they
shit.
have a Spartan race out there?
Yeah.
The Marine Go
It's
Run,
like where they
whatever
have
it is.
it's
Yeah.
where they have the mud run down
Yeah,
there.
the mud run. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
The mud run's sick. I think that's like a 5K or something.
That's gnarly. I'd love to
Through
do
the-
that.
Through
That's
the mud.
pretty crazy. You
I
have to
would
do the
do-
obstacle course too. Though.
Oh,
You
yeah,
gotta climb
yeah.
out the ropes.
But yeah, but you're like, army crawling through chicken wire and mud, like it's just. And the thing is, like, the dads think it's hilarious because they've all been like boozing all day, and the kids are miserable because they're getting like yelled at by these army soldiers, like, and like they have free
that would be
reign.
so much
Wow.
fun.
They have
I
free
think
reign to
that-
like shit on you, like you're a cadet and you're like 10 years old.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I remember.
like you can't do push-ups or anything.
No,
they're like,
I
they'll call you
remember.
fat,
I remember
like-
they lined us all up, and we were standing there, and they're like, "After this, you say, sir, yes, sir." And one of the guys like stood right in front of me, was like just saying whatever. I'm like, "Sir, yes, sir," and just totally serious. He's like, "I like this kid.
That's
Mhm.
I like this
You
kid."
bought in.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally bought into
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I was all out. I was just like,
Damn,
I'm ready
Indian
for
guy
this.
sounds really fun.
It
Oh,
was,
it's
dude.
lit.
It
It
was
sounds
one of the
so fun.
coolest.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
one of the coolest parts of growing up in Orange County. I think.
It sounds a lot more fun than Boy Scouts. I wasn't a Boy Scout, so I can't
Yeah.
say.
I
Boy
was.
Scout seems a lot more like rigid.
Yeah.
I don't
do you,
know.
Do you
I
manage
stuck
to do
it.
both? How was that?
I started off with like the Indian Guides, and then I went over. I'd say I went over to Boy Scouts from that, and like that was like their process, because you do like the whole Cub Scouts things, and then you would move over to Boy Scouts. Luckily, I was part of a troop where it was very high adventure,
That's
and
cool.
I made it all the way to Eagle Scout, which
Oh,
was
that's
yeah.
good.
So that was pretty good.
What'd you do for your
Good
Eagle
for
Scout
you, man.
project?
I made, what did I do? I made 325 feet of galvanized fencing along a driveway in this environmental nature center. So it created a path for bikers and trail hikers up to a safer path. And then I built 4 stairs out of railroad ties down
Dude,
there. So
that's actually awesome. That is
Yeah.
super
All
cool.
the projects
Yeah.
I've been
Good for
hearing
you, man.
of are
Thank
like
you, yeah.
are really handy projects.
I
Oh, yeah.
haven't heard any projects. I didn't have what it took to be a Boy Scout. I just
No.
first meeting I was like,
No, for some
not
reason
me.
I always kind of made fun of them. I thought Indian guys was way cooler.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Well, okay, I'll tell you a couple other stories from Scouts. So luckily, one of our Scoutmasters was an ex-Navy SEAL.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And this man had the biggest gun collection I've ever seen.
Whoa.
So this man brought out like 4 World War II M1 Grands.
Whoa.
He
Whoa.
brought out like a 50 caliber Browning, and
Word.
Those are like Modern Warfare 2. Like,
Oh, yeah,
got
he-
straight out of
he brought out
Basically an old hunting rifle.
yeah. Like
Oh,
those
yeah.
are my Rust go-tos, bro.
one of the gnarly ones was he brought out a Dragunov.
Oh, what?
What?
Yeah, he brought out a Dragunov,
Is
and I
it
was
legal to have some of those guns?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
I mean, if
Crazy.
you've been in the military, you probably have specific.
Probably. And then like he had like tons of other guns. We'd shoot like 10 gauges and stuff
Wow.
like that. At the age of like 14 or 13,
Yeah.
you're like stoked on life if you
Right.
get to shoot
But it's
that big of a
it's
gun.
That's
generally
incredible.
safe
Oh, yeah.
when you're under the supervision of a guy like that.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
a
He's
Navy
not gonna do
SEAL?
anything.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I
Yeah.
doubt he's just
That's
handing
safe.
guns
That's
out
safe
to
to know for
13-year-olds
everybody
being
that are like 14-year-olds with guns.
I doubt he was
What's
just
wrong
handing
with
them
you
and being like,
guys?
all right, yeah, you go to the woods and have fun.
No, we
You know,
had
like-
Yeah.
we had to go through like 2 classes before we even went out to the desert and
Mhm.
shot those guns. I mean, like even part of the process, he put a blank in one of the guns and cocked it and loaded it and fired the blank inside of where we were having our meetings and
Yeah.
stuff. It was
Loud.
so loud and like,
It's deafening.
oh yeah, it's so loud, and you're like, what was the point of this? And he's just like, this is what happens if you don't like, and he pointed it at like a piece of paper, somebody
Yeah.
holding a piece of paper, and it would knock a hole in the piece of paper, and they're like, even though this is a blank,
Yeah.
this is the damage
just
that it could
percussion,
do.
yeah.
So
I've
Yeah.
fired a gun before without ear protection, and it is awful. My ears
Oh,
ran.
yeah.
I've
And
never
we were in
done
a
that.
valley too, and it was just like,
oh,
and it was like, I
And then
woke
you're
up the
just-
next morning.
Your bell is rung.
I woke up the next morning. If you put your fingers in your ears, all you heard was like,
Yeah.
like it's just like,
Dude,
oh.
why does it sound like?
God.
Why does your hearing sometimes sound like the computer that is just like frozen?
Dial up.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
like a dial-up
or like a
frozen-
static radio. Like, why is that our bass sound inside our?
I felt like
head?
Archer. I was walking around like, it's just brutal, dude.
Danger zone. Cool, man. So I saw yesterday on your Insta story that you were down at the Wedge. So I wanted to ask you, how have the waves been? Like, have you been surfing a lot this summer?
Yeah, so I've been surfing a decent amount this summer. Wedge yesterday, I think it was like, I don't know, 4 to 5, maybe occasional 7 that would roll through.
It was pumping in Malibu.
It was, I was pumping, and I don't know, I body surf there and stuff. I've surfed there a couple times. Mm-hmm. Surfing there is a different beast within itself.
Yeah, it's totally
insane, because you
don't see a lot of people going for it.
No.
Yeah. And honestly, the people that I do know that go there regularly, a lot of them get like neck and back injuries that are just like.
That's such a gnarly drop in though.
Oh yeah,
off the wedge, like.
Oh yeah, it's pretty insane.
Well, because they have the giant jetty, so that it's basically a double wave. So whenever whatever the swell is on any other shore, the break at the wedge is going to be twice as big as that. So like 7-footer on A Street would be like a 14 to 13.
That's gnarly.
So it's wild.
There was a recent swell that just came through. I think it was like, I don't know, a month ago or something like that.
4th of July weekend?
Yeah.
Jamie, 4th of July week.
Yeah,
it went over A Street, right?
Yeah, it did. So me and a couple, I didn't go in. I'm not willing to do that because, I mean, you take a tumble on that, you're in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
And there was like one of the pro guys that goes out there always, Jamie O'Brien.
Big wave surfer.
Surfer who's
one of the best big wave surfers in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. This guy goes out in
Mavericks, Jaws.
Oh yeah, and he surfs big waves on foam boards, nevertheless. And he just goes out there to have fun and makes it look super easy. But then you like look at what that kind of wave is that he's on, which is in California you don't really see it that much. And you go out there and you're staring at a 30-foot face, and you're like,
dude,
oh wait.
Yeah.
Wait, that's what he's dropping in on?
Yeah. How steep does that have to be? Dude?
It's riding down a mountain.
It's basically like, imagine
the amount of power that thing has and how fast you're going.
Oh
insane.
Dude, on a spongy no less. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, so he if you're and you have to pull rail super hard on that board because it's such a steep face.
He just wants to kick you.
Yeah, exactly. And if a backwash comes back in and it knocks you off, you're flying. And it's basically
straight down.
The foam wall on that thing is like
shore break at the wedge too.
It's very, very short break. And if you drop down and you get pitched off the wave, pitch basically means you are getting launched off the top of the wave down to the bottom of the wave.
OTF.
And going over the falls.
For those who don't know, the wave is being measured by the backside. So whenever you say like a 30-foot wave, it's actually 60 feet tall on the front. So like what you see is like
massive.
It's basically like a 3-story building.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, 60 foot would be a 6-story building, so that's way higher.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just ridiculous, those waves. I mean, but on a smaller day, like yesterday was a good day, where you can drop in and you're not really worried about too much. I definitely got thrown into the sand a couple times and my neck's a little stiff, but that happens and you just kind of account for it and you're just, it's going to be there.
Yeah, that's like not too bad too, as long as you're not being a total idiot about it.
Yeah, exactly.
With all of his free time, after he found out that he was going to be pushed back a couple months on his start date, Finn has been literally like he has a giant triangle where he just goes out to Malibu over here and back to his crib.
I have 3 spots basically. I get to.
He is very much like, he just said he surfed like 7 hours today probably.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else to do right now. I mean, and I'm really enjoying it. It's such a rewarding experience because, I mean, I haven't done, and I'm not doing this competitively, but I haven't done a sport particularly to get better at since high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And surfing's so much fun because it actually is such a realm of creativity with it, where it's not just a sport where it's like, oh, like you paddle a lot or you're exercising. Like you kind of get to approach each wave however you want to. You know what I mean?
Because every wave's different.
Every wave's different, and you got to try to extend it as long as you can, and sometimes it means being a little bit creative.
And each wave is a new challenge for sure.
Totally, and I am such a beginner right now that I'm really just trying to be a sponge.
Yeah.
And you're out there with some guys that are super sick, and you're just watching and being like,
I would say,
growing
up in Newport, like my parents were definitely because some of my neighbors that had been surfing for since the '60s. One guy was the coach for our swim team, Coach Ted. I forget his last name. But Coach Ted got in a gnarly, like, you know, had to get neck fusions, spine fusion surgery or something when he was out surfing. And, like, my parents were always, like, not really into that in terms of, like, the potential, like, injuries that you could have. Yeah. So I've been trying to pick it up along, you know, since Finn's been all about it. Like, I was way more of, like, a bodyboarder, body surfer. We used to, we usually like to hang in the mid-40s at Newport, which is technically called Boogie Land because it's blackballed there.
Yeah.
Which means no fins for people who don't know.
It is Boogie Land, yeah.
Boogie Land down there in 42nd Street.
There's a story behind that too.
Yeah, delve into it. Why is it Boogie Land?
40th Street, the strip from 40th Street in between those jetties, from what I've heard, is there was a mayor of Newport Beach that lived right on the beach right there, and he, I don't know, I think hated surfers of some sort, and
it used to be a lot more counterculture, like punk thing, you know.
It was not the thing, and he passed a law that from the 40th Street beach right there is blackballed permanently.
That's so ridiculous.
Permanently.
Like, what a dumb thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you have
someone's got to look out for the boogie boarders.
I guess.
For a guy like me who typically likes to bodyboard more, like, that was pretty sweet. And especially, like, when we have our family reunions down there, we rent some houses on Balboa Island. We don't have the hat over there, but we switched up our product placement this week. Maybe he can talk about it in a second. But
a little Balboa hat.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, but we have younger cousins, and, like, my aunts and uncles don't want to have to worry about a potential fin slicing them, you know. So
totally,
going to Boogie Land is always the move, like, in terms of family-friendly beach.
I've sliced myself with my fin, so
it's really not that hard to do.
It's not hard.
I see some people like sharpening it, and I'm like, dude, what? Like,
I've never seen that.
You haven't?
I've never heard of that.
That sounds reckless.
Yeah, honestly,
a little ignorant.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of allow you to walk us through kind of your passion for filmmaking, kind of where it originated. I know you had been doing some videos in high school, and, you know, kind of walk us through it.
Yeah, of course. So I originally started, I think my first camera was a GoPro Hero 2 that I think my dad bought, and he was like, we're going to go do this and this and this with the GoPro and stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. And during that time, I think when GoPro started coming out, all those insane commercial videos of like the epic slow motion of like people surfing and skiing, which I learned shortly after that there was an extension program for how they did that.
Really?
Yeah. It's called Torque. Or I can't remember. It starts with a T, but it's like a specific program that they run the GoPro footage through on the lower end, like GoPros for the earlier ages, and that's how they got it so
crispy
slow,
looking.
so crisp and so slow.
Okay, that makes me feel so much better because I remember my first GoPro Hero. I was like, this does not look like the commercial.
Yeah.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
You're like, dude, these videos are shit. What am I doing wrong?
This just looks like I'm skiing on a white piece of paper. You know what I mean? It doesn't show it as a deep thing at all. Like, you know, like.
And they would basically have guys that would work in the film industry, and they would color grade it to no demise and
put depth into.
Oh yeah, they would just shoot the crap out of it and just edit it so much, and that's how I personally got into that kind of realm. With the Hero 2, it was all fisheye kind of look, and I think the next generation was where it was like you didn't have to have it as a fisheye, which was so much better, but it still was like just extremely wide. Wide frame.
So what were you
shot.
making? Like you're making surf videos with it?
Yeah, I was making like surf videos,
stuff?
Action videos, all that kind of things. I was doing short little edits to post on Instagram when Instagram came out with their videos. Everybody started doing their videos. I think Vine was at the time as well, and R.I.P. Vine.
R.I.P. Vine.
Honestly.
R.I.P. TikTok too.
Oh yeah. I never downloaded TikTok.
No,
ever.
Me neither.
No,
dude.
absolutely
Who wants to let China know what they're up to?
Honestly,
dude, more than that, I just don't need to see this cringy stuff that's up there.
Honestly,
you see all the famous ones on Instagram anyway.
Seriously,
I have a good friend of mine who is my source for cringe TikToks. Whenever I'm I'd be down to see some just what are people up to? And he will send me these videos of just old people just like being on TikTok being like absolute boomers.
Yeah.
It's so tough. It's so
No,
tough.
I get my cringy TikToks on Twitter.
Really?
Honestly.
Yeah, Twitter.
I
They
just
all
go
end
through
up
my
there,
Twitter
yeah.
feed and it's like TikTok. It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't even need to
I'm
download-
excited for that to fizzle out.
Or like we are,
you know what I mean?
we are
Like,
snacking.
TikTok came and went as far as I'm
I'm
concerned.
Whatever the
I am
video was.
snacking,
Oh,
and she's
God.
like
Like,
looking at Cheetos.
when
and
I
stuff.
try,
This is
like
so
we had
bad,
to watch our two friends like film a TikTok over how many iterations would you say in Palm Springs? It was the one
Maybe-
to
not-
the Roddy Rich song.
Screw iterations.
Oh, no.
It was the cop car one, like no, like I'm a cop, yeah, or whatever. And
I don't
for-
even want to
for
relive
4
how
hours.
cringe that was
for
to
4
watch.
hours.
Yeah, and each time looked the same. Honestly, and
Yeah.
they did it over and
I
over.
don't I don't get. I mean, like, props to those people that like learned how to monetize that app, and like just all they do is dance to like the newest song, and that's how they make
I
money.
can't believe that's a thing.
I
Yeah.
can't believe that. But you
And
know what?
Who wants to do that?
Dude,
If you
but
show that
China,
to them, like, why do you
China
show that?
bought like the Chinese government bought the company. That's who they sold it to. So it's
Yeah.
just like
That's so sus.
it was like wow. You know what
China
I mean, like
could
for
be
me, it
so
was
sus.
always a giant red flag that it was like gaining so much popularity,
I saw-
and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just really scared of China in general. So
I saw
just-
this person take a third person like perspective video of this chick like in a crashed Beamer, and she's like sitting
Yeah,
outside the crashed
yeah.
Beamer making a TikTok dance in front of her like,
Like
crashed
TikTok,
car.
and you're like
no.
probably like I will never financially
Yeah,
recover
and it's
from
like
this.
and she's like
car
dancing in
crash.
front of her like car crash. It's like what is like. I can't imagine if that was my kid, I'd lose it.
There was
I would
another
lose
one.
it.
There was another one where the car was in a ditch and it was like a pond right there, and the kid's taking a TikTok video. It's like, I guess my car was thirsty. You better hurry up over there. I'm like, dude, you crashed your car into a ditch.
Yeah.
This is a bad day.
This
bro.
is in
This
this
is a
is
bad
in
day.
Denver. Like,
crazy,
what
like,
are you doing?
Everything can be made a joke on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Dude, kids found a dead body on TikTok.
Whoa.
No.
What?
Yes.
No.
They're
That's not
literally
good.
they're doing something called randonauts or something like that.
Oh.
Random scavenger hunt.
Yes.
And these kids are like, we found it, like, and they're like by some pier on like some like with like some rocks going into the water.
Oh
And they're
my
like,
god.
Oh, there's a suitcase there. Maybe that's what we're looking for. And they're like, wow, the suitcase smells really, really bad. Open up the suitcase, dead body.
I've heard
Oh
about
my
this.
god,
Yeah.
bro.
Do you know
This
what
happened in
randonauts
Seattle.
are? So randonauts are like, it's an app or like it's kind of like I think like a Reddit page where somebody sends you a location and you just go to this random location and you go out there and you don't even know where you're going.
That sounds like the least safe thing for children to be doing.
Yeah.
Are you
ever.
kidding? Like, that's just asking for somebody to get kidnapped. Like,
Yeah.
go to like this weird
100%,
spot in the middle of nowhere.
Dude, you know what
Like-
that sounds like? I'm not like a very avid Black Mirror guy, but one of the ones I had to watch for a class of mine was about this one kid. It's about like basically like a blackmail app that like they hack into your computer
Yes.
camera and they caught this one kid like looking at something stupid on his computer.
I think it was porn that he was looking at. Or
Yeah,
something
it was like he
that.
was looking at porn or something, right? And so they like have him blackmailed and then make him do like all these like different like tasks and drop offs like at random.
Kind of
And-
them, yeah.
But the crazy part is all the other people that he's interacting with are also like wrapped in to this like scheme somehow via blackmail, and it's just like they have to wait until they're like unleashed from it. Have you guys
Yeah,
seen that episode?
I
It
had.
is nuts.
It was
yeah,
crazy.
Black Mirror is crazy.
Yeah.
Heard the guy had to stop making it for a little bit because he just it was like it was too depressing.
Well, and it's like
It's
it's almost
also
getting way too
super
accurate.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there's a couple things. I think some scientists like they went through all the episodes. They're like, here's the episodes that could actually happen
Yeah.
and be true.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'd say like 75%
Yeah.
of those episodes could
The
be
crazy
real.
part
We have a
was
lot of technology yet that we have not discovered.
one of the
Oh, yeah.
craziest
or
ones.
utilized rather, I guess.
One of the craziest ones on top of that was the app where like you would assign like a score out of 5 to anybody, like anybody.
Oh, the
And that
rating
was-
system.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was it's basically Instagram, but on top of that, like rather than just liking it, you rate it out of 5 stars.
Well,
right?
yeah,
didn't
but that's
China
how you-
start rolling that out?
So
actually?
that's what I'm alluding to is like that. Literally immediately after that,
Dude, I'm
that
so not down for a rating
that
system.
episode was dropped like a year ago, right? And then in January 1st of this year, China unrolls a social credit system that they basically use through all these AI CCTV cameras that they have across their country, right?
Social
And so-
credit.
It's literally it's a score assigned to you based off of how good of a Chinese citizen you are, and
It's kind of like your Uber star rating.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Literally.
how you like go throughout your
but
society.
it takes in everything, like your
Yeah.
your usage online, your social media,
Dude.
like if you jaywalk, like literally stuff
I would
like that.
literally ding someone's social credit score so hard. You know who I'm dinging? The people like going down Chautauqua. If you're like up in the Palisades going down Chautauqua and you're in the turn to PCH and they're on the turn to like Channel Island or Ocean Road, they freaking cut you off going on to PCH. Those people are my least favorite people right now. It's happened to me literally 4 times the last 2 days.
This is a guy who has a bunch of first
I
world
am-
problems.
Binging those people for social credits. No.
Yeah, but
They're
dude,
out.
so alarming, and it's happened, you know, in many other ways as well. But like that
Yeah.
show is way too spot on.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. Dude, it's also weird. I feel like just on the TikTok note and like them discovering that murder, like I felt bad. Like this poor person's like was like millions of people watch their like body get discovered on a TikTok. That's just so not like appropriate. You
Isn't
know what
that-
I mean? Like I feel like death has always been something that's like
Yeah.
you know
Well, didn't one of the Paul
Fragile.
brothers get in trouble?
Logan Paul. Yeah, he went out into the suicide
Yeah,
forest
yeah.
in, I think it was like Japan.
right?
At the bottom of like Mount Fuji or something like that. It's
Yeah.
called the suicide forest, and they were filming out there and they found a dead body, and they treated the situation very poorly.
yeah, dude.
They
it's
were
so
like-
bad.
They made like a
and-
parody video about it.
Yeah.
right?
And it was just horrible.
and I think
Like-
that's how he became famous.
No, I think he was
They
famous
were Vine
before
famous
that.
way before that.
Yeah.
Dude, but still, that's just so weird, man. Like
Yeah, and on top of that, his twin brother was caught like raiding a mall in Arizona or something.
Something,
And
right?
just
Yeah.
his house just got raided. He had a bunch of AKs at his house. Like, dude,
Yeah.
those guys are wild.
Yeah.
Dude, what
Stardom will
about
do
these
something
TikTok,
to you.
these TikTok hype houses where it's just a bunch of
Yeah.
14-year-olds like living in a house?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I've
No
been seeing all
parental
these.
supervision.
I've
It's
been
just
seeing all these
tons
memes on
of money.
Twitter where it's like TikTok influencers like on their Instagram story reposting all this like wear a mask shit, right?
Yeah.
And then their Instagram stories, like their private Instagram stories, are them at like 1,000-person parties in the Hollywood Hills.
dude. Yeah,
And
Yeah,
Eric Garcetti, like the mayor of LA, is like literally like handpicking different addresses that are being like
Breaking
what's the
the
word?
rules.
What's the word? Like
using tons of utility.
like
every,
some people
like,
like
day.
people no people snitch on it because like people hear about it and then
They can
snitch
tell
on the
because you're
different
powerful,
properties,
bro.
and then he cuts their power completely
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
for the specific house.
I heard that there's they have the schools now, colleges are hiring people specifically to snitch on other people throwing parties at the house
Yeah.
and to personally turn them into the universities,
Mm-hmm.
and they will get expelled from the university
Yeah,
and also fined.
yeah,
I'm glad I'm not. in
it's crazy,
school
dude.
right
The
now.
videos, there have been videos actually from Bama specifically that are pretty wild.
Hey,
I was gonna say.
quick capping over there.
I'm
right?
not.
Chill.
I'm not capping one bit,
Chill.
bro. They were put on notice a couple weeks ago. With
Roll
it.
Tide, man. Right. Enough of that.
That's roll turd shit. I used to make fun of them. All right, man. So in high school, on top of getting your feet wet in the video game, you're also
Literally.
a good fogo, lacrosse fogo. So for people who didn't play lacrosse, what's that mean?
Fogo means face off, get off.
Face off, get off. That means
So you're the face-off guy.
your only role in the entire game is to just win face-offs. You ditch it to a guy, and then you
Get off the
sub
field.
That's pretty much it.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what you do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. See, I mean, like, it's a great job. I mean, people, it's how you start the game. It's how you could end the game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's you're a huge portion of what the game consists of, and
Right.
those rules have changed over the years so much right now. I mean, like, originally it started off where you could keep the ball in the back of your stick, and you could run all the way down down the field and shoot it while it's still in the back of your stick. They changed that,
Right.
and that's been a rule for pretty much most of our.
Don't you have
my
like
high school
you have a
career.
certain amount of steps or seconds?
So
to
how
get
would
out?
you describe what you're talking about for people listening
Mhm.
that aren't familiar with lacrosse?
So basically, what you do is, if you have a lacrosse stick, you punch in the back of the net of your stick, and they put the ball on the ground, and you have to clamp over the ball, making the ball stuck in the back of your net, and you have to pull it out either forwards or backwards, and you get one step, and you have to pop the ball out of the back of the net of your stick and plop
Into
it
the
back into the front, like how you would
Why do
normally
you think
cradle
go
it.
to the back? Just because tradition, or
It's just tradition.
okay?
Yeah. And that rule changed, like, I think, God, it's 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're changing it, and you were able to go down on one knee so you could get more leverage over it. And if you watch any lacrosse face-off, they're all down on one knee.
Yeah, I feel like that's always what I've seen.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. And now I heard that they were trying to change it to where you can't go down on one knee and you have to stand up on both feet.
And just like what, bend over?
Bend over.
That's so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's brutal.
Or
I like
It's
the one knee
essentially-
'cause they're wrestling.
If you know what
over it,
like
you
a
know?
scrum looks like in rugby, that's essentially what the face-off looks like in lacrosse. And I mean,
Exactly.
in hockey, you know, they're not really getting their shoulders as much, or like, you know, their hips as much involved into it as in a lacrosse face-off because they're standing up.
I would say, yeah. With lacrosse, you're like spinning around in different circles,
Mhm.
putting pressure on
Right.
the other guy, driving your shoulder
like,
into the other
The
guy.
face-off interaction could last like up to a minute sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like they're battling for it. you
Oh,
know?
absolutely.
That's
and
awesome.
you're putting so much physical exertion into that one specific moment, and then you have to run down the field and pass it off or go and shoot it or something like that.
What
So,
made you particularly good at face-offs?
I'm short.
Yeah.
I'm short. I'm only like 5'6", and have a wide build,
Mhm.
so it allowed me to be really strong with an upper body and get really low to the ground. Where like bigger guys, I would literally get right underneath them and have more leverage over them.
Yeah.
And if I would try and pick up the ball and stuff, they'd be like hovering over me, and the next thing you know, they'd push me in the back and back on the ground, and it'd be a push from behind, and I'd still get the ball. I
Yeah.
mean, like, a win is a win.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
It's like having a small strike zone.
exactly.
Even
Exactly.
though Altuve's got a really low batting average right now.
Ooh,
Love that.
sheesh. Hey, I'm
You know what I
honestly
think
very
about
happy
the-
to see that.
You know what I
Same,
think about
dude.
the Astros.
Yeah,
I
so
got nothing.
are
good
you
to say.
a Dodger fan, OC Dodger fan, or Angel fan?
Well, grew up an Angel fan, but I support both. I don't really have a personal preference because I'm not personally a big baseball guy in general. I'm not even a big sports guy in general. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love to play sports, but watching sports, baseball is just kind of like a very slow sport for me to watch.
True.
Totally.
And I mean, like, I'll support my Angels and support the Dodgers and stuff. Like, when the Dodgers were in the World Series, I was like, go Dodgers.
Yeah, all about
but,
it.
Yeah, all about it. You got to support that California team. I mean, like, look at the San Diego Padres right now.
Yeah, they are.
Like-
Yeah, but they got Manny Machado, and I'm of a mind.
We
of
got a
Manny
beef with him.
Machado.
We got a
Ooh,
bone to
big
pick with
beef
Manny.
with him.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
He's a lazy
But
dude, man.
on the contrary, I was never like really into the Angels as much from the OC because my grandparents have been season ticket holders since since they came to LA. My great grandfather had season tickets, so since 1958 they've been going to games. My grandpa grew up right next to Dodger Stadium, like a couple blocks away. So we were kind of ride or die Dodger people growing up, and had to watch the Ducks win in 2007 and the Angels win in 2002 before we even saw any of the LA teams win.
Choose to forget the Angels won a World Series.
In 2002, they were studs.
No, I
Yeah,
choose
they
to
were.
forget it
Sean
completely.
Figgins and all the
Jared
boys.
Weaver,
Jared Weaver, all the boys.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Darren Erstad.
Vlad was.
Vladdy
is
Guerrero.
Vladdy.
You know his son's in
His
MLB
son
too.
is killing it
Dude,
right now.
yeah.
Oh
He's
my
with the
god.
Rangers.
He's playing on the
No.
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
Yeah.
That's right. He was in the home run derby.
That man hits bombs.
Guy mashes.
That guy rakes.
Oh my
The guy
god.
mashes.
He's got big cake for it too, like Vladdy did.
He's a big dude.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember watching Vladimir Guerrero hit a home run off the ground?
Dude, yeah, it like hits home plate and she scrapes it off the ground.
And he also hit multiple home runs on walk-off, on intentional walk pitches.
Oh, yeah.
They were
like,
throwing him out, and he literally just
Step
extends
into
and
it.
just.
Dude, what an absolute beast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so after you kind of had a little bit of success as a Fogo in high school, you played club lacrosse at U of A. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your time at U of A, even though it was a little short. So
It was a
kind of
little short.
give us a story about U of A.
So
That's Arizona, by the way.
yeah, U of A, University of
Alabama.
Arizona.
Not
No.
to be confused with Alabama.
West
Yeah.
Coast U of A is Arizona.
Yeah. Similar instinct though,
Yeah,
I would say.
Similar premise.
Similar premise. So I was there for a year in 2016, I believe. Yeah, and 2016 2017, and it's a part of this league called the MCLA, which is the club. It's like club lacrosse, but it plays sort of at a level of like a D2 or like a
Sure.
D3,
Mhm.
and we train and practice the same way and stuff. And I came in there and nobody knew who I was, and I came out and practiced and started doing face-offs, and their main face-off guy was going up against me, and I was basically just cleaning his clock.
Oh, dude, love that. That's
I was,
awesome.
I was basically cleaning his clock, and like everybody's like, "Who is this kid?"
Yeah, who's
Who is
this
this
face-off
kid? And so eventually we started doing practices and stuff, like scrimmages against ASU and Grand Canyon, and we went out to Phoenix one time to play our like fall like whatever, and they put me in for the first face-off because they're like, well, you're doing so good in practice,
Yeah.
might as well just give you a go.
Mhm.
And I played both games, and I think I went like 95% in the first game win
Whoa.
percentage,
Damn.
and then second game I went like 85%, and they were like, we trust you now for the
Yeah,
rest
you
of
got
the
me.
You're
Jar.
the
It's
photo guy.
yours.
You're our Fogo. So, and then I played all these different teams. I played BYU, Utah Valley College, Utah, UCLA, Oregon, Stanford. I am not a big fan of you guys. Sorry.
Stanford?
No.
The
Why?
tree?
Those kids were just such pricks. I have to
The
say.
Stanford prick.
Oh yeah,
Tough.
they were not very nice people. I'm not saying that every Stanford grad is one of those people. I know a bunch
We have
of
a couple
Stanford
friends
people,
who went to Stanford.
They're
and
good people. I like
Yeah,
them.
they're,
no, they're
I'm
good
not
folks.
I
saying
love all
those
our
people.
Stanford homies.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
Fear the tree.
they're not
Yeah.
included in
They
this
these guys were something else. I'll tell you that. But
Stanford plus lacrosse sounds very preppy.
Hmm.
Very prep school.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it was very much so that, and we played a bunch of teams. We didn't get to the finals because there was like, I mean, Grand Canyon, they recruit kids that are like supposed to go D1, and they're
Really?
like, they don't want to go D1 because they don't want to go to the East Coast, but they just want a small like school, small education, and they
is
go there.
GCU in Nevada?
Grand Canyon, I think it's in
Arizona.
Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
You
in
know, like
Arizona.
the Grand Canyon
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
in
I
Arizona.
thought it's in Nevada.
No.
it's in
I
both. Wait,
messed it up.
does
Well, actually, it is in both.
It's
It
in
is
both.
in both. Because the Hoover Dam is part of the Grand Canyon, right? Isn't it?
yeah. Well, no,
Go
that's the
Lincoln.
Colorado River, isn't it?
What goes through the Grand Canyon? Isn't it the Colorado?
I don't know.
Inquiring minds, guys, inquiring minds want to know. Drop it something in the comment section if you
It
made
could
it
be the
this far.
Parker River because the Parker River's down in Arizona.
I know there's-
Let's not pretend to like just pull rivers out of nowhere.
I know.
Those are the
I
two
know that
rivers
the
I know,
Hoover
man.
I know that the Hoover Dam, that if you go in the middle of it, half of it is Arizona and half of it is Nevada.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So we solved that. It's
Yes.
kind of by Vegas though. So.
Yes, it is. It's close. It's really close.
Mhm.
But so yeah, my time at Arizona was pretty short. I mean, I only spent a year there. I just didn't like the vibe that was there. It was. I mean, there's not that much to do in Tucson other than go to a pool.
Rage.
Pretty much.
Pretty much just rage.
Raging pools, and go to school in blaring hot heat.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't do that dry heat. That
No.
dry heat.
But
So-
you're into the humid heat, right?
I like the humid heat.
Okay.
Yeah.
La Humor.
Well, it's Alabama heat is oppressive, but dry heat is like
It's something different.
You could survive in humid heat.
Dude,
Yeah,
if you were
I'm,
left
I'm
with-
totally of the opposite philosophy.
If you were
Like,
left
the humid
without
heat
water and
kills me.
humid heat, you would survive.
Mm.
Yeah, like a couple days. A couple days without water in Tucson, you're dead. Dude, like
I-
lizards live in
Yeah.
Tucson.
Just something about like being in the
plenty
shade.
of wildlife lives in Alabama. It's like so much more hospitable to like
oh yeah.
survival. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
The thing is, though, when you're in humid heat, like in Bama, like you're sitting under a big tree, there's no difference as if you were standing like
Very
in
true.
the dead of the
There's
sun.
no relief.
Okay, yeah.
That's kind of where I make the distinction. You know what I mean?
You know what's weird is the heat has gone down in my memory as a good thing for some reason.
Right.
As brutal as
Like
it was.
my dad, one of my dad's favorite like reggae. My dad's really into reggae, and he listened to this song "96 Degrees in the Shade." really good chilling. But
Yeah.
that's literally
about
how humid Jamaica is.
That is about it.
Yeah,
You
well,
were
I
saying
mean,
something?
there was, like in the earlier year or earlier on in the first semester, you get monsoon season,
Oh,
and
in Arizona.
in
really?
Arizona, oh yeah, in Tucson in particular, they would get heavy rain, and it would be so dry that the water would not like soak in or anywhere, and it's so flat there
Just
that
floods?
it floods like there's no tomorrow. It's insane. Like I would be walking to class, and there would be puddles that come up to like my pockets.
Yeah, that's
It's ridiculous.
I bet that leads to a bunch of people like water skiing behind trucks and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
That happened at Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
How fast could you go on water skiing on a truck?
Yeah, behind a truck.
Big
So,
trucks are a big
Here's
thing
the
too.
thing: is Alabama has the infrastructure is very poor for the weather.
Really?
The city is not built in the sense that like there's
Because
an
there's
area
not a lot
for
of weather
flood
there
zone.
ever.
Oh, there's tons of weather.
Really?
It rains hard in the south. Like out of nowhere, it's like apocalyptic rain.
Mm.
You can't drive because you can't see like very
Right.
close in front of you. So, and for some reason, the infrastructure isn't very good. They'll have a lot of neighborhoods where all of the water just meets in the middle and doesn't drain. You know what I mean?
That's what Arizona
And
does.
then all of a sudden, trash cans and stuff will tip over and then block the drain, and it'll just flood everywhere. And these people,
Oh
like,
my
it gets
God.
in homes and stuff like that. It's an engineering problem more than
Wow.
anything. But yeah, people will like get in their F-150s, and behind it, people will be like
Yeah.
sitting on like a board and like.
After a big snowfall, there
skiing or
were
surfing
certain
around.
streets that are less popular in Ann Arbor, like just only a block or two off campus, that wouldn't be plowed, or like the campus wouldn't pay to be plowed. So like all
I
the
know where
property
this is
owners would
going.
have to do it. So on trucks and cars too, you just kind of tow rope and snowboard around.
Yeah.
See, that seems way more enjoyable
That's
than
kinda
like going
Yeah.
through some dirty puddle water.
Yeah, I was.
like,
I never
But you
lived
also
in a
have to
flood
deal
area.
with like 0 degrees for like 4 months, 5 months.
True.
Which sucks.
okay, yeah. I'm a California person, so like,
100%. Dude.
I
We got the
can't-
good life.
I can't deal with cold. I mean, like, the only way I can deal with cold is if I'm personally going up to the cold to enjoy the cold.
Exactly, dude.
So-
That's how I felt.
Yeah, it's got to be like a vacation to the cold. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's a weird thing. I just realized. When's the last time you looked at your weather here? I never look at my weather
dude.
here.
Checking the weather
Ever.
regularly is so
Yeah.
weird.
I used to
I
do it in
hate doing
Alabama a lot, especially in like Alabama will have these weird stretches where all of a sudden it went from being super hot to like it gets super cold. Like it'll drop like 30 degrees in a week.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll go from like 70s and hot to like
Uh huh. Did you guys ever have any like gnarly tornadoes out there? Is that Tornadosville or is it?
they've
You
got-
have to go further west for that.
they've got big.
Morbid.
They've got no, it's not tornadoes. Yeah, no, it is tornadoes
Is
that
it?
they get. Yeah.
Wasn't there like
um,
a big one that like
so
they
a
always
couple
talk
years
about?
before I got there was one that like destroyed Tuscaloosa. Some
Ooh.
like students died. It was really sad. It was
Wow.
really sad.
Wow.
And so there's a big street called 15th Street. If you look at a picture of it, all the stores are different.
Mm.
A lot of the stores are now on different sides of the street and stuff. It just like it.
Just tore through right downtown.
Yeah, it's really gnarly. There was like some tornado warnings where you have to go into like a bunker and stuff like that, or like some tornado safe shelter.
Or, like,
That's a
basement.
very big
Um,
difference from like here on the West Coast
Yeah.
and like on the South and on the East Coast and all that stuff, or tornado bunkers.
Yeah,
It's like
everybody has a basement.
Yeah,
Everybody,
it's
but
so
everywhere but
wild.
here, pretty much.
Totally. It was weird. I remember not really knowing what to think of it because it's such a foreign thing for me. You kind of just take the lead of your friends. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like if they're concerned, this is a bad one. If it's not, but the thing is, it moves so quickly. There was plenty of tornadoes that really messed up places about 15 miles away, less.
Damn.
You know, like
Wow.
tore up through towns that were not very far, like away from us, and they just didn't come to you because what tornadoes do is they bounce off the ground.
Yeah.
So they're totally erratic in their path.
Mm.
So you know
so
they'll
it can miss like it could hit this house
Yeah.
and then it could bounce over and just like go over to
exactly.
the next
It jumps
That's
over
so
houses.
wild. Yeah.
There's pictures of like totally destruction and then one house standing because it'll bounce over houses and stuff.
Yeah.
But tornado weather's a thing. It's really humid,
Mhm.
heat, and it's still air.
Mhm.
place. Yeah.
Like there's no wind, there's no gusts, it's just still air. You for some reason I feel like there's always cicada buzzing and stuff, and it's just hot. It's bizarre.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels in LA right now. I mean, like, for those who don't know, like, in order to shoot this, we have to turn the AC off, and by the end of the episodes, I don't know if you've been noticing, but
We were
it gets
sweating.
hot in here. It gets
I'm,
really
I'm
fucking hot. in here.
sweating pretty.
Yeah,
Pretty
I'm
much
I
right
have
now.
to text all of our guests a little warning. I typically say wear shorts, but yeah,
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, I did not learn that this week. So, were you studying film while you were at U of A, or were you involved in any other form of study there?
I was studying business finance, and that put me into a boring sleep.
Yeah.
Because I just realized it was not me. I thought I was choosing a safe route, going down business finance. I was like, this is going to be a successful path. This could lead to many successful things. And I realized, wait, I'm not going to be successful at this because if I don't like it, I'm not going to be successful in it because I'm not going to be passionate about it.
Yeah, you've got to
no
do
motivation
what
to do it.
I had zero motivation to do it. And I think that's kind of like why I think I wanted to leave U of A, because it was like, what I was studying was just not important to me, and they didn't really have what I wanted. I mean, they do have a film program, but it's not studying film in Arizona. What's the point of that? It's just kind of like you're going to go work in a news station.
Especially where you're from, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Right.
If you have the
opportunities are much more rich down here.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have more opportunities living in California and studying film rather than studying film in, I don't know, Tucson, Arizona. It's just like, it's not going to work.
Sure, totally.
So, I mean, like, I did do, I remember what kind of brought me back into the light of film was while I was at U of A, there was somebody posted on a Facebook thing in our freshman year Facebook group, does anybody know anybody that can film or edit footage and stuff? And my buddy tagged me in the post. He's like, this guy's the man. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went and I read the guy's script and I filmed it for him, and then we turned it into a film festival at U of A.
What?
Yeah, and we ended up winning the festival.
What?
No way, that's awesome, man.
I had like zero expectations to like do it, or that we were gonna get that far in it, and the way that I edited the footage and I did everything together, like they apparently loved it, and they chose like the best 15 films to show, and it had to be under 5 minutes, and they chose the top 4, and we were in the top 4, and we're like, wait, what?
This is awesome.
And my crew was sitting next to me, and they're like, yo, did they just say our name?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah. We go up there. We're like, thank you so
way.
much. And we're just like, wow, okay, that was totally
Who did you have
unexpected.
judge it? Like different professors at school? Or?
Yeah, the film professors at U of A were
That's
judging
awesome.
it.
That's
and
dope.
there was like a bunch of kids that were like, you were watching their films and stuff, and you're like, you know, some student films are like really artsy fartsy, and they mean a lot to that student, but they
don't
just
translate.
They don't translate.
Totally.
They were like really
I can
deep
imagine
in
that
meaning.
happens a lot.
It's the films that were the funny ones or the ones that like made sense were the ones that won.
Yeah.
So like there was a bunch of people like I could see their passion in the film,
Right.
but it just couldn't relate.
This is a perfect intro to a question I was thinking about asking you.
Good.
Which is, how do you manage passion and commercialization of a project? So, I mean, for you, filmmaking, writing, I'm sure there's a lot of artistic expression involved.
Yeah.
Where maybe you can be like, this means a lot to me. Where those kids go down the road where, you know, they may be a little too much focused on the artsiness of it, and it doesn't translate to the audience.
Like they're trying to win like an Oscar in cinematography, but it's like, this is a film. This is a
but at the same time, you want to make something that means something to you. You just don't want to make something that's just commercially eatable. You know what I mean?
So I mean, like with both my scripts that I've written, they kind of translate to something that can be commercially, like, people would eat it up, in a sense. And I think like you can add subtle hints of like, there's a reason why this specific thing was there, and there's a reason why this other thing was there, and the reason why the character's doing all this and this and this, but you have to you have to keep in the back of your mind, and a lot of people don't understand that you're trying to show this so other people will understand it and like it. You're basically, it's like you're trying to sell a movie to the dumbest person possible.
Sure.
And you have to make it so easily, you have to make it so that person can understand what they're watching. And those type of movies like the big blockbuster movies, like the Avenger movies and all that
yeah.
stuff, those sell really well because there's not a lot of context to them.
Yeah.
It's basically
You
like
could join the middle of the movie and understand what's happening.
exactly.
You're like,
you may be a
good
little
guy,
lost.
bad guy. I'm rooting for the good guy.
Exactly.
I don't like Avengers that much. I love superhero movies, but wasn't it up for one of the best movies of the year?
Which one?
I don't know.
Age of Ultron or something like that. I think it was up for one of the best films of the year, and I was like, what? Come on.
Yeah, I'm
bro.
not a big Marvel guy either, but you know, I respect like the vision for, you know, for them to like have like Stan Lee start this project, you know, so many years ago, and then this trilogy is obviously the culmination of all that, because all these characters that they have multiple trilogies covering, right, and you know, you have an emotional attachment towards, they all combine for this, you know, defeat a supervillain.
Yeah. I mean,
so sure.
I have to say I had a guilty pleasure of going through all the Marvel movies in chronological order.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
dope. Yeah.
So-
I love Marvel, by the way. I just,
Right.
Not a huge Avengers
I just
fan.
respect
Yeah.
like the reason the movie made $1 billion
Yeah.
is because like this is a multi-decade
yeah,
long
exactly.
process.
And I mean, like,
It's an incredible storyline.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's incredible.
You
It's
have
a
to think-
universe, dude. That's insane.
Right.
you have to think about it, that it started in like, when was Iron Man 1? The Iron Man was the first one out of
Really?
that Avengers series
Yeah.
to come out, and I think that was in
No, the
2008.
Yeah, it was
No,
like
Hulk actually came out after
Really?
Iron Man. Yeah,
the
Even
new
the
one,
one
the
with
Mark
the guy-
Ruffalo one though.
the Mark. Okay,
I'm talking about pre-Mark Ruffalo.
There was an Ed Norton
Edward
Hulk.
Norton
The Ed
Hulk,
Norton Hulk
actually
came out in like
really
the
good movie.
2000s. Yeah.
It came out. I think it came out the same year as Iron Man.
Really?
Yeah, it was 2008. I think.
Sounds about right, actually.
Yeah.
2008 sounds about right.
Yeah, and that's when they first came out with those movies, and that was the beginning of the Marvel phases.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's before like Disney got brought on and owned Marvel.
Sure.
So I think the first movie that you really see, where Disney has a very solid hand in it, is the Avengers, the
Yes,
first
for
Avengers.
sure.
Right.
Because like all the movies before that, like Iron Man 3, not even Iron Man 3 looks like it has Disney hands in it, or
Handprints,
like
yeah.
Thor or any of those movies.
Mhm.
It does not look like it. But the minute that the Avengers comes into play, and every movie after that, it looks so much more like a Disney
Well,
movie.
you can tell because they're
Yeah.
trying to turn it into a franchise. They're all of a sudden giving so much life to these other side characters
Oh,
where they
yeah.
can do
Right.
spin-off TV shows.
Well, maybe we can go. So recently on Instagram, there was a thing that was popular called the Bill Clinton swag. You remember when Bill Clinton was sitting there and he had, you know,
Oh, the
3 or
albums?
4 different albums.
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there, right? So what would, if you could do a Bill Clinton swag for movies, 4 movies that, you know, if you're lost on a desert island, 4, I think it was 4, right? Or 3?
Yeah, let's do 4.
4 movies that you could just keep on repeat for the rest of your life. What would it be?
Ooh, okay. I would go Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is my all-time favorite movie.
Christopher Nolan's a
Dude,
beast.
it's hard
Oh,
not
yeah.
to love that movie.
Exactly, and I'll go into Tenet, his new movie that's supposed to come out.
So
Yeah, I
stoked
want to
for
ask
Tenet.
you. We'll talk about this like.
I
almost
have an
immediately
interesting fact about Tenet, and
Okay.
I'll go into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But second one would be No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn. What a great song.
Is that a Coen Brothers movie?
That's a Coen Brothers
It's
movie.
the actor's
their
name
script.
is Joaquin. Or what's the guy's
Oh, it's
What's the guy's name in the movie?
name? Oh shit.
The guy that uses the cow.
Dude, you know that's
the
a
cow
Loyola
thing?
that's a
Yeah.
Loyola summer reading book now, dude. Rand's reading
It
it,
was
right
a
now.
book when we were in high school. I read it.
I didn't.
I didn't.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I've
What's
tried to get into reading,
The
so
main guy has a name, and it's kind of a spooky name. It's a mononym,
Oh, I don't know, dude. I
Oh,
haven't seen
my
it in a
God.
while.
and he kills people with that cow.
Dude.
yeah.
thing.
Or when he like
Oh,
he just
It's a
springs
pressure,
the locks
yeah.
of a door through with
Yeah.
that thing.
dude,
That's
that
gnarly.
device is like
Or where he's
fatal
like-
in that movie.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like heads or tails, and he's like, oh man.
That
You know,
movie's
okay,
so
I have a
good.
couple fun facts about that. So there was I think there was like a couple psychologists that like looked at all these like the villains of movies and stuff, of serial killers, and they did a poll, and they found that Joaquin Phoenix, that's a different one, but they found that his character is the most accurate representation
a psychopath.
of a psychopath
I
serial killer.
completely believe that. What does that say about the writer, though?
What is his name?
Let's see. The name is
Javier-
Javier Bardem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anton.
And his name is Chigurh. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Anton Chigurh. Or Chigurh.
Shigur.
Chigurh. But
Chigurh.
they call him Chigurh the whole
Chigurh.
movie. And
I
it's,
think
it kind of
yeah,
becomes his
Chigurh.
mononym,
Oh.
and it's very scary. Like,
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones is in that too.
Oh,
yeah, he's the
yeah.
sheriff.
He's
Yeah.
the sheriff.
All right, so
So good.
No Country for Old Men, Batman, or
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. True. What's the other two?
God. What am I thinking of? It's a Martin Scorsese. Goodfellas.
No, yeah.
Yes, Goodfellas. Dude, you're naming this. Our lists are so similar right
Oh
now.
yeah.
Like, wow, Goodfellas is on my list.
And my last and fourth one would be Godfather Part 2.
Dude, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so you're
another-
like
That's
mob,
another Scorsese, isn't it?
mob.
Godfather
Scorsese.
2? No.
Who's that?
That
It's Francis Coppola.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I kind of confused some
he's
of the
a beast.
mobby.
Yeah.
Francis Coppola did. He did the Vietnam movie too. What was that one?
Apocalypse
Yeah,
Now.
Apocalypse Now.
Now.
That's an insane movie.
I don't need to. We don't need to list off our top 4 necessarily, Finn. But do you have any like movies that are definitely like in
Yeah,
your top
Pulp
2?
Fiction for sure.
Pulp Fiction?
I am
Thank
such
you.
a Pulp Fiction
Thank
fan.
you.
It is unreal.
But dude, I
So-
wish someone gave me a warning about the imp scene in Pulp Fiction. Like I
Oh.
like that scarred me for years. Like when I
Really?
first watched it, because like
Who's
Dude.
Zed? Zed's dead, honey.
dude,
Whose
but
chop
like
is
just that scene in the gun shop is fucking crazy. Like,
Dude,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they get theirs. It
Oh,
doesn't work out for
I
them.
mean,
I won't ruin
yeah.
the movie,
dude,
but
yeah.
If that was
Marquise Wallace does not let that shit fly.
I mean, dude,
alright?
the movie was made in '94. If they haven't seen it by now, that's their fault. You know?
No.
Well, dude, a lot of people haven't gone on to the Pulp Fiction, but Quentin Tarantino's like.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I
it's so
I
sick.
love love Pulp Fiction, but it's not my favorite Tarantino.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
For
is?
me, my favorite's Django Unchained.
Okay.
I like Django. I'd say,
My favorite Tarantino is Inglourious Bastards.
yeah,
That is
Dude.
by far my favorite.
that's good. It's
Ugo
tough.
Stiglitz.
I think Pulp Fiction's honestly my favorite. My favorite thing about Tarantino is where you start the journey. Barely has to do with where you
I
end the
know.
journey, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
actually pivotal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one
And
movie-
everyone's character arc is nuts if you look
Right.
at it individually. Like
The Hateful Eight does an
I was-
insane
Right.
job about that.
I was about to
It
say,
blows my
it's
mind. I
either
was like,
Pulp Fiction or
whoa.
Hateful Eight are my
Yeah.
favorite. I love Hateful Eight.
I was on the beach yesterday saying, like, I need to give my ass a Red Rock. I'm the new sheriff of Red Rock. Oh, dude, that guy
Oh
is
my
hilarious.
Yeah, that is a really good
Yeah,
movie.
but honestly, as far as Nolan goes, like, you're just
Choose
hitting.
one though. Choose one
No,
movie.
I was just saying that Django Unchained is my number 1,
Okay.
and my tied for number 1 is Interstellar. But
Interstellar.
Yeah.
for some reason, I really like long movies that are dope.
So hit me with the Tenet fact.
So progressively over the years.
I guess also explain Tenet too,
Right.
a little bit.
Okay.
And they're in a dilemma, so discuss that as well.
So Christopher Nolan has done an insane job of reducing the amount of special effects that he uses in movies, like VFX. A fun fact about Interstellar: they never used green screen in that entire movie.
What?
It was filmed in space?
No,
Or,
they filmed it on a soundstage, but it's not green screen.
huh.
They made
It's
that
in
in.
blackness?
So you know the scene
Or
where
did they
he's
just put
like,
lights in the background?
it's
or...
all light tricks and all that
Whoa,
stuff of him
dude.
being on wires and him
Yo,
floating through.
no. What about the books?
That's not CGI.
What?
Like
Yep.
sand just going through the book?
No, when he's floating through, when he's in the black hole,
Yeah.
and he's floating through, and he's
Or
pushing
when
the
he's
books
looking
to
through the
make a
bookcase when he's
message.
in
Yeah,
the 4th
That's
dimension.
not CGI.
What?
Dude. Wow, that adds another trippy
What about-
element to
and
it.
Lars is floating through this whole thing. That's
Tars.
insane.
Tars.
Is it Tars?
Yeah, not Lars.
I mean, yeah, but that
You're
is
talking
that
about
is
the
totally
robot?
that-
Yeah.
the robot is totally CGI.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
totally CGI.
I was about to say, if we're capable of that in movie magic, like, let's roll this baby
Yeah,
out.
Oh, yeah,
let's,
right?
let's roll out a Tars here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So in
They
Tenet,
got Roombas going around. Give me a Tars, you know?
that's a really advanced Roomba right there.
Yeah.
But so in Tenet, there's only 280 shots that are CGI in that entire
Wow.
movie. Most of it is real life effects
Hmm.
that they put in throughout.
It's
So like
incredible.
every big action scene is actually happening right there. Like
Hmm.
the whole scene where they blow up the hospital in Dark Knight, that's completely real. They didn't fake CGI a building. They blew up a
They just
hospital.
demoed a building.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
That's crazy.
that's
Yeah.
crazy that you get like. How does he get to do that?
I mean, probably
He's Christopher Nolan.
a bad
He's
building
made-
that was gonna
yeah.
be.
He's got
you know,
some big money behind him.
Oh
I
yeah,
bet.
he's got so many investors behind him that just want
So,
that next movie.
How do
to
you
be-
foresee this going for him? You know, because the movie was supposed to drop on July 30th in
I
theaters,
want it so bad.
and you
Yeah.
know, that's almost a month of you know, from now or up past. So
Yeah.
what do you think his plan is for this rollout?
So I know that he's already released it in like China, and there's been a Rotten Tomatoes review, and it's 87%. 87%, and that's like one of his lower end ratings on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes. Do you trust Rotten Tomatoes though?
I no,
It
not
never reflects
necessarily.
what I like
I mean,
about a
some
movie.
movies,
Yeah.
100% I can agree with. Like, yes, that makes sense why they did that. But most of the time, I really don't. I think of movie critics as failed film students that just are angry at life.
Right.
Agree.
Like they
thank
bury
you.
Borat.
Same
Borat's
with
one of the
movie,
best
same
movies
with like
ever.
musician, like music critics. They'll just shred things to pieces just because they want to be like both good linguists and
Oh, yeah.
you know, like thought to be a good critic.
That's-
I can't stand it.
Never
They
fun.
the more harsh a critic is, the more like controversial they'll be, the more clout they'll have.
Yeah,
So-
is that clickbait for them in terms of building?
It
a name for
is.
themselves?
It's like if you were to read something on Variety saying like, Tenet is not looking good, totally about to go south.
Everyone's
You
freaking out.
would totally, after all the hype that has been
Yeah.
brought up about this movie, that it's supposed to revolutionize the movie industry and how Christopher Nolan has changed how special effects or how real life effects are supposed to be in a movie, and you read a bad review on it, you're going to be like totally wanting to see what that person
Yeah.
is trying to bring about it.
That just goes for news in general, though.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, news in general doesn't make money on good news. When's the last time you saw a good news article?
Dude,
Or
they're
good
really
news
hard to
headline.
find.
they're super hard to
We're
find.
about to make polio go extinct.
I thought it already has.
It may have already gone extinct. That should have been huge news. That should have been on the front page of every news
Polio went
cover.
extinct a long time ago.
I don't think it's like extinct. There's
Nah,
still
but
cases of it around
we're more
the
concerned
world.
about the controversialness of WAP.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Just like, and it's just like, what is this doing to your kids? You know what I mean? It's just all this stuff where it's like the world's
Ben
constantly
Shapiro's
ending.
WAP video. Oh,
Oh,
my god.
Oh,
Guy needs to
fuck.
slow down. Stay in your lane, Benny.
Then,
Oh,
hey,
boy.
but so this Tenet discussion brings up another question I was going to ask you. So, for example, super hype movie, all of a sudden the release date's not viable, you know?
Right.
And the idea of movie theaters being where people see movies is also a really changing realm.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I want to go see a movie if I can go sit on my couch? And I already pay for these streaming services. Movie tickets are expensive, you know?
Right.
So I'm curious, what is that doing for the rollout of movies? Are we going to see more movies that are made by Paramount and big production companies that are released on Netflix and Amazon, or are they going to create
Or
their own
independent
streaming
streaming
service?
service.
You know?
I personally think that what Netflix is doing right now, which is a huge streaming service, such as like all those other ones, like HBO Max is a perfect example, or Disney Plus. So there was a movie that was supposed to come out in theaters, Mulan,
Mm-hmm.
and they released an announcement saying that they were going to release Mulan on Disney Plus, but you had to buy it for $30.
Oof.
You had to buy the movie for $30,
Dude,
and you
screw
wanted,
that.
$30.
yeah, exactly,
Screw that.
right? So I think doing that is really going to hurt them, but there's something about going, and I feel like you guys will probably agree with me on this. There's something about going to a movie theater, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be like this fresh smell of popcorn
Yeah.
or like getting that certain candy that you
It's
love,
like paying
or-
respect to the
Yeah.
art. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like-
And so many filmmakers and directors like Christopher Nolan, and he is a very big stickler on this, is he wants his movies, and the reason why he doesn't want to release Tenet out in the US yet is because the US doesn't have movie theaters open,
Right.
and China does. So he wants it to be a full experience in the movie theater.
Right.
And you cannot fully experience a movie
Right.
like a Christopher Nolan movie or a Quentin Tarantino movie without going to the movie theater and hearing that surround sound effect and seeing it on
Surround
big
sound, and especially like let's look at both of these guys. One, the sound production is meticulous. You know
Right.
what I mean? They have done so much for you to appreciate that, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
perfect.
And they
Also,
specifically engineering
film quality.
the sound for different sides of the room.
Exactly,
Mhm.
film quality too.
Yeah.
Tarantino is like a freak about film.
Right.
Very much so. So is Christopher Nolan.
You don't respect that on a Vizio.
No,
you know?
and you don't get it. You don't get it through those little speakers on your laptop or on
Totally,
your
yeah.
Samsung TV or whatever. You don't get that. And I'm kind of the same way. Where if when I get to that state of making a film, that I want the audience to be sitting in that theater, experience every single little detail that goes into
Yeah.
that sound design. I mean, there's a perfect example of sound design in a movie called Dante's Peak, which is a movie with Pierce Brosnan, who was one of the old James Bonds,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
goat.
where they go out to this volcano and it explodes and they have to like escape from the mountain when they go and get grandma and whatnot. And Pierce Brosnan gets trapped in this mine in his car, and there's this they were debating on putting a soundtrack over it in that scene to bring up the intensity, but they didn't put it on there because there was these little sounds of the sand and the
mine,
rubble going through the car that you could hear. It's just the slightest little movements that you could hear that you felt so much more like
in the it sucks you into the scene.
It sucks you
Yeah.
so much into the scene, and you feel so much more tense because you can hear that little grains of sand
Yeah.
going through the
Totally.
the car,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't really get that
Yeah.
at home. You have to
Totally.
see that in a movie theater to really hear those sounds.
Let me
I
ask you.
completely agree. I hope we don't see the death of movie theaters.
No.
I don't
I
think
I
we
don't
will.
want to see the death
I
of
don't
movie
think
I
we
have
will.
a theory though. I have a theory that at first it's gonna be like a DVD. It's gonna go. You produce it in the movie theater. Afterwards, it rolls to Netflix or whatever streaming
Right.
service they sign a big deal with,
Right.
and it'll be like a DVD. Instead of going to DVD, it'll be like that. And I hope I don't end up seeing that. Just go straight to Netflix instead.
Yeah,
But
the thing
Yeah.
is, what's crazy is I've noticed a trend in the movie industry where it seemed like a lot of big directors were threatened by these streaming services. It definitely in terms of box office, that's like the main, like the obvious one. But in terms of them getting reputations and getting nominations for film awards that were like recently, like Roma was a Netflix movie that they released in like a couple small theaters in Mexico just to qualify for the minimum qualifications to be nominated
for
for best
Cannes or something like that.
Yeah.
for best picture at the Oscars, right? And Spielberg went in on like Netflix movies and like said like there's no place for straight to streaming.
They were trying to say that they wanted a separate category for the Oscars of streaming service movies because they didn't like how it competed with major motion pictures
Exactly.
that were competing for at that level
Mhm.
for that kind of movie. So I mean, like it goes with. I mean, look at The Irishman.
But that's what I was gonna say, right? So Spielberg is obviously on
Didn't
that
like
side
that,
of the
to be
fence.
honest. Wasn't a fan of The Irishman.
The Spielberg's on that side of the fence, but then
It was
you
my
see-
favorite.
you see, Scorsese do a big movie on that. There's a lot of other. The Coen brothers did The Ballad of Buster Scruggs,
Right.
which
so
is
good.
a
Yeah.
fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. But there are a lot of people in the same echelon as him as far as big name producers go, signing up and doing some of these direct to Netflix and direct to Amazon.
I think
deals.
it's a sign that it is the future. There's
Yeah.
no denying it. There's no pushing it away. It is the same. It is art. It is art. And you have these big directors, and I hope to see a lot more big directors participating in that
Mhm.
because I like good movies. At the
Exactly.
end of the day, I like good movies.
But
you know?
here's the other thing too. So what Netflix is about to do and what directors are going to do is they will have a partnership with Netflix because Netflix has become so big that it's pretty much its own studio now.
Right.
Totally.
And
It's
they are
definitely that,
giving out so many opportunities for young directors to make their movies that they are creating I saw something that they're creating like an intro logo for Netflix, so when it's released out in theaters before it comes to Netflix.
Right.
But
Like
it's
the
like
Lionsgate lion,
Yeah,
and some
it's
of
like-
the signature.
Yeah,
openings,
exactly.
The
And so
Paramount Mountain. and the
Exactly.
stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're doing those for the Netflix made films. And the reason why Irishman was on Netflix is because no studio wanted to make The Irishman. That is
Right.
a 3.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
And it is so long and it's so expensive. You have to realize that
Right.
they digitally replaced Robert De Niro's face and Al Pacino's face to look
Like
Like,
yeah, like 20
30 years younger than
Right.
they are.
And
I
it
mean,
was
like,
it was
Robert De
done
Niro's
and it was
like,
done
what, 80?
somewhat well. Like it was definitely
There was
like,
a little janky point.
it was like the
but,
Baron Revenant. It was like obviously fake.
Yeah,
I
some
love
points.
Revenant.
I thought that
No,
was
dude,
a
but
great
the bear
movie,
was
but
so obviously fake, in my
Really?
opinion. Yeah, I don't know.
I could, yeah. Well, looking back at it, yes, I could see it. Obviously,
Dude, I thought they actually got a lot of good credit for that bear.
I don't know.
Like
Jonah
Jared
Hill
Wise-
made fun of it in the Oscars.
Really?
I'm pretty sure he came out in a bear hoodie and was like, "So I'm the most important character in Revenant. I am the bear," and it made sense because Jonah Hill is like a little at the time was a little bit
Yeah.
bigger. I know that he's lost
his
a lot of weight.
his weight does fluctuate a little bit.
He does,
He's
yeah,
actually proven to be a very good actor.
Yeah,
and a
He's
director.
done, yeah, and a director.
The
He's
mid-
The mid '90s.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
god,
The
good.
mid '90s is a
So
fantastic
good.
movie. So sad too. Like
it's
holy shit.
so real though.
Dude, it reminds me of a kid I grew up with.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
His
don't need to
older
tell the
brother
story.
was just it's not a bad thing. No,
No.
I'm not saying that exact story, but like his older brother and him were absolute
Just not
Good.
compatible.
maniacs.
Yeah.
Growing up, and his older brother would just come around and just like totally bully him in school and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It was just like a tough, like,
That's
Tough
a bummer.
love kind of thing.
yeah, the
No.
Potters,
That's a bummer.
the
man.
Potter boys.
So,
One of their names was Harry Potter too, to boot. So
dude, why would you do that to your
Oh.
kid? Harry Potter.
this
Dude,
is before J.K.
no.
Rowling wrote it. You know what
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean? Like,
God. That reminds me of there's one family, I think was it in Our Lady, where
No.
oh god, there was one woman, and I remember it was the talk of the town, that she got married and her new married name was Truly Boring.
stop it.
Not kidding. Her maiden name was Truly Golden, and then she married a guy whose last name was Boring.
Really?
Yep.
That is so tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how tough is that?
Of all the people to fall in love with, Mr. Boring is a tough sell.
That
Yeah.
guy's better not be boring.
Yeah.
I hope that's a commitment right there. To
I feel like
train-
with that name, growing up with that name, you have to be interesting.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So, fast.
you have to go against the odds there.
Yeah. It
we're
pushes you.
gonna fast forward a couple more years because you eventually decided to cut ties with U of A and then move back to Orange County, back to Newport Beach.
Yeah.
Kind of do a reset and found a passion in screenwriting and filmmaking by going to OCC Film School.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually ran
Shout out
into.
OCC.
So the first time that, like, you know, in many years, like almost a decade long hiatus from us like hanging out and talking, I ran into you at a 4th of July party at our friend Cole's house, and you were blowing my mind telling me about this script you were writing.
Right.
When I was, you know, somewhat hammered on the 4th of July, but you were definitely like pulling a lot of strings that were like getting me going about it. So
Yeah.
I think. Was that the Ash and Cash script?
I think it was, because I don't think I
Yeah.
had come up with Tracks yet.
So I want
Tracks
you
is
to-
a relatively new
Yeah.
script.
I love both of these titles, by the way.
Break
Yeah.
down these two.
Not knowing anything else, just seeing the titles, they're both great.
Break down these
So-
two projects for us.
So Ash and Cash, it's a mixture between No Country for Old Men and Pineapple Express.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is I love that description already.
Yeah.
So basically, it's about these two stoners. One stoner. Its main focus on one stoner. His name's Billy Becker. I came up with Becker.
Dale Denton. Oh, Becker.
I
Damn.
came up with Beck. I used Becker because of our homie who unfortunately passed away, but I wanted to keep his last name living on.
Spencer
so-
Becker, man, good dude.
Good dude.
That's awesome.
So the Billy Becker is a good for nothing stoner that lives in the middle of Salton Sea area, Palm Springs, middle of nowhere, and he works at like some pawn shop, and he's just an absolute degenerate, can't pay anything, can't pay rent.
Kind of a loser.
Pretty much a loser. Flat out. Just an adult loser. Yeah. And he ends up, like, he easily falls in love. He's fallen in love with this Russian prostitute and stuff. And his car breaks down on the side of the road, and he climbs up on this huge sand dune, and he looks over to the side, and he finds this black bag just sitting on the side of the road, and he opens it up, and it's filled with $1 million.
Yeah.
So he finds this bag of money on the side of the road, takes it, and steals it, and lo and behold, that bag of money belongs to the Russian mafia out there, and he takes the money and takes his friend, who basically ditches out on this motel rent and all that stuff, and moves out towards the Great OC, and like I think I based it in Newport, and he's going out there just to party and live, and the Russian mafia is shortly behind them, following after them, and they get in this tussle right before they leave, and they end up getting away with the Russian prostitute, and then after that,
is she kind of tied up with this mafia?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Damn you. But eventually, so they go and spend the money, and then the Russian mafia catches up with them, and it turns out that the Russian prostitute turned them in and told them exactly where they were.
Oh, that's a burn.
So, yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't worry, I would have never expected that. I thought it was more like they were gonna like use her as like a hostage.
You ruined the surprise twist, bro.
No, that's good. No.
So she was snitching on him.
Snitched on him. She snitched on him because she's actually one of the prostitutes of the Russian mafia.
Gotcha.
That's why I said the Russian prostitute.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the Russians capture them, and they're like, well, we'll just kill you now because you don't have the money and you spent it all. And he's like, whoa, wait, I have an idea. We're gonna rob a bank, and I'm gonna get all your money back plus some. So they're like, fine, but we get to keep your friend as interest, as collateral.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. So they go and they rob the bank, and then they come back with all the money. They turn in the money, and the Russians are like, okay, you did this. We're still gonna kill you. We don't care.
Yeah.
And they eventually, the prostitute ends up talking him out of it, and she goes with the guys, and they're all bummed at the end. They're like, well, shoot, now we don't have any money. We basically live nowhere. And they're like, hold up a sec. I have a little stash in the back of the car. Lo and behold, during that time when they robbed the bank in Newport, the Russian prostitute was there at the same time and collected a couple side bags of money when they robbed, so they still have extra money that they have left off with, and they drive off into the sunset, and they're all good.
I like the Russian prostitute character because it's like you both hate her probably for a little bit and then love her. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
But also don't trust her.
That sounded like that to me. That sounded like have you seen Money Heist on Netflix?
Yeah.
It sounded like a Money Heist / Ozark vibe, like with where like to save his life, he's like, I'll go launder your money in the Ozarks because there's like a flyer on the desk, right? When his business partner got shot.
So you mentioned Pineapple Express. How funny are you trying to be with this?
I think I'm trying to be like relatively funny because I mean you're basically dealing with Billy Becker, who's kind of a burnout, and then his roommate. I forget what his roommate's name is because it's been a while since I looked at the script, but he's just the James Franco character in this. He's just the total burnout.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
along for the ride, completely not knowing what it entails.
Right. Yeah, there's literally a scene where Billy walks into the motel room and he's just like, "Yo, we're getting the hell out of here." And he's like, "Why, man? I've got my weed. I'm chilling here. My favorite bong is packed and ready to go on the table." It's like, "You can smoke that right now, but just imagine." We have enough money right now where you can buy your own weed farm. And he literally sits there and is like, And just imagine this him like
Yeah.
frolicking through like a bunch of weed plants and stuff, and he's just like, that's
the humor part. Like
that's
the cut to what his imagination is.
Yeah,
going
it's
through.
really easy.
I like that you're doing that. That's nice because that blend, I personally love it when they take very, very serious things and make it lighthearted. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Especially at the character's cost. Or like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, the joke's on them. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like, they're
True.
too dumb for their own good to realize how screwed they are. You
Yeah.
know? Like, I think that's great.
But I made Billy Becker's character not as dumb as it possibly could be, because I want it to be somewhat serious.
He needs to be smart enough to pull off a bank heist.
Exactly,
So-
exactly.
And also, like, you want him to be lovable. It's like, yeah, this guy's a burnout loser, but maybe it's because he lives in, you know,
you
the
kind of
middle
relate to
nowhere,
Home
him.
had
desert.
You kind of relate to him in
He's
general.
stuck in this place not because he wants to be. The other guy wants to be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? This guy probably wants more in life.
Yeah,
but he just
exactly.
knows he isn't going to get it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's Ash and Cash. What about your most recent one that you wrote?
So
That's awesome.
the
I like
last
that.
one I wrote was and filmed was Mimic Me, and I'll tell you a little story. So I originally wrote this movie called Tracks, and I explained it earlier, which was it was based. Oh wait, did I explain
That
it?
was to my
You did-
parents.
Oh, that was
you
to the
explained
parents. Oh my gosh. Okay,
The
so
listeners have not heard about it.
okay, so I'll explain Tracks in a second, but I'll explain Mimic Me first. But I was supposed to make Tracks, which was I think 16 pages long,
Mm-hmm.
or 14, and we were supposed to go shoot it up in Big Bear.
And talk about real quick the correlation from pages to minutes on screen. Real
So
quick.
each page
That's a
of a
great question.
script, so one full page should equal 1 minute of a movie.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you write 16 pages, that's 16 minutes long.
Mhm. Just for them to know.
Just for them to know.
No, that's super helpful. I didn't know.
Yeah, and usually sometimes it adds up. It's pretty true to that, but some of the times it's not, because some things get cut out and some things get added.
Mhm.
But so Tracks, we were supposed to go shoot it up in Big Bear for my final class at Orange Coast, and it ended up getting canceled because COVID happened.
Oh, man.
And we had everything pretty much going, setting up. I was talking to the people that we were going to shoot at, like their camp, and it was actually the camp where they shot the final episodes of the first season of Barry.
Oh, I never
Mm.
watched that, but I know what you're talking about.
I highly recommend that.
Really?
By the way. Oh yeah, it's super funny.
Okay.
It's super funny. It's on HBO, and so we were supposed to go film up there, and we got canceled because of COVID. And our teacher basically said, "Scrap that whole idea. You have to write a 6-page script. You have to film it and edit it in 3 weeks, and do that."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So there goes that whole idea. So I wrote Mimic Me in a night. It was 6 pages long, which is honestly not that hard, but to have a story go full circle
Mhm.
and do that, a lot of the students in the class didn't end up doing that, and I was kind of like one of the only ones that could get that done or do something of this magnitude. So Mimic Me is about during a post-apocalyptic time where there's creatures that live in the world that basically have the ability to swap their looks to whatever presence is in front of them. So
Like X-Men shit.
They're like
basically.
amorphous people.
like amorphous people,
Mhm.
and they hunt the living creatures like us, so they can turn them into those
Us.
amorphous
So
creatures.
they look like... Oh, shit.
So
So is it like Kirby, where they have to like swallow someone and then assume their identity?
pretty much, yeah. So
That's spooky.
yeah, so we so
You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I know
okay.
what you're talking about. I'm just imagining this in like a big screen movie theater, and that would
Yeah.
scare the crap out of me.
So-
It would just be like very scary. Like,
I'll show you guys the film later, and so we filmed.
is there a place you can find this film?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram.
We'll link
We'll
it.
put your
when
handles
we-
up there.
Yeah. So, I didn't want to put it on like YouTube or Vimeo. I don't know. I just didn't want to. There's more people that would probably view it on my Instagram or on that rather than my YouTube.
Mhm.
So, so basically, the son has to go out to go get medicine for his mom, who's sick and dying. And when he leaves, he ends up going through the back routes and stuff because it's not safe to travel on the main streets. And he ends up coming across one of these creatures and gets attacked by him, and then he ends up killing the creature. And then walking back to the store, gets the medicine, then comes back and gives the medicine to his mom, but his mom actually ends up turning out to be attacked by one of those creatures, and then she keeps the same face as
No.
Yes!
And then you have the viewer
Tell me that's the
know.
end.
that is the end.
Yes, I love that. That is so
Dude,
sick.
That's epic.
I love endings that are just like
And it's
not
called
what
Mimic.
you
And it's
wanted.
called Mimic
Yeah,
Me.
it's
Damn.
called
Dude,
Mimic
I'm
Me.
not gonna lie. I can't believe you fit that in 6 pages. I could see that being a whole movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That
could see
is
that being a
crazy.
whole movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
dude.
So, but the funny
This
thing
idea
is,
is such a rich idea. Like
I
this
know.
apocalyptic world you're building out. I could see that being like really like
yeah.
a lengthy thing. You know?
Yeah, so basically I wrote that script in one night.
That's awesome.
It took me a couple hours to write, which is so wild because it usually takes me a lot longer to write scripts like that. But it just came to my mind, and I was reading something in my English class. I'm like, I'm gonna twist this and make it my own.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what I was reading, but I wrote that one night, then shot it in 2 days. Took 2 days, me and my buddy, who's the main actor in it. And then it took me like 3 to 4 days to edit that entire video, going through color grading, sound design, just chopping up, and then reshoots and all that stuff. Yeah, it took me. I made it within that time, and everybody was still working on their films, and they're like I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done. And they're like, "How are you done?" I'm like,
Yeah,
I was motivated to get it done.
Yeah, you loved
that's
it.
good.
Yeah,
Dude, that sounds like a really exciting plot.
Cool, man.
I'm very
I'm
stoked,
stoked
to
to watch
check it out.
that too.
Yeah, I'm very
How
Yeah.
long is that? Is that short?
I think it's like
6 minutes.
6 or 7 minutes. I think.
Dope,
Yeah.
man. Dope. I'm excited
Because
to
there was a
watch
couple scenes that ran a little bit longer, but it adds so much more emphasis into it.
Yeah,
it. Cool.
I'm stoked to see how you actually accomplished that storytelling
Yeah.
through acting.
So tell us about Tracks.
So Tracks, the movie that was supposed to be made, R.I.P. I'm hoping to eventually make that when COVID situation kind of lightens up. I still really, really want to make it. So it's based off an actual serial killer in Alaska. His name was Robert Hansen. He was called the Butcher Baker, and what he would do is he would hire prostitutes off the street of Alaska, or I forget what's the main city in Alaska?
Juneau.
No, it's
Anchorage.
not
Kodiak.
Anchorage.
Yeah.
Anchorage, Alaska. And he would hire them, take them on a seaplane out to his place out in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And he would it's pretty gruesome. He would rape them and then set them free in the wild, butt naked in the cold, and then hunt them for game.
Shit.
Dude, this guy. What's the guy's name?
His name is Robert Hansen. You can actually look him up.
Oh my
Dude,
god.
This is
that's-
a real person.
That's
How did you find out
horrific.
about Robert Hansen?
So
That's horrific. Holy crap.
So I was thinking when I was coming up with ideas for scripts to write, I was thinking about what places I could shoot at.
Mhm.
1 second. I'm gonna drink some water.
Yeah. This is crazy, bro.
Dude, that's gnarly.
Like,
So basically, the way I came up with this idea was I was looking online, so I had this family friend who owns a campsite up in Big Bear, and the place where they shot Barry, and we were going to use that, and I was like, what can I write around that campsite that would look something scene-wise, that's not too hoaxy kind of thing.
mhm.
And I was like, you know what looks like it? Alaska looks like Big Bear. Big trees and all that stuff, snow. And I looked up serial killers in Alaska, and I just went through
And
the
that
top 15.
That's a gnarly story.
I bet you hear some gnarly stories. Just
Top
searching
50.
through
I was
it.
going through the top
You also
15.
were probably put on a list when you did that. Google search.
Probably.
Your FBI,
You're on the
Oh, yeah.
no-fly list, bro.
your personal FBI agent was like, he's looking at memes, looking at memes. He's like, holy crap!
Yeah,
like
right.
that. This is gnarly.
Oh God! So I saw him on the top 15. I was like, who's the worst one that sounds the worst out of all these guys? And I found him, and I was
Butcher
like,
Baker sounds
that guy sounds horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
So how do you integrate this fucked up dude into a plot?
So I kind of Quentin Tarantino'd it, where I changed up, like, you know how,
like alternate history?
alternate history, where, like, he did,
like Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time or Inglourious Bastards, where he completely changed history. So I base it, it's not solely focused on, he's just like a villain at the very end. And so I base it off this couple that lives in the cabin, like 3 hours out of Fairbanks, Alaska. And I completely changed the setting. And the couple lives in the middle of the woods, and one of the couple, the husband, Michael, goes into town to go catch some more supplies because it's their wedding anniversary, their 1 year anniversary. And on the way, he finds like this splotch of blood in the snow, and he's like, that's a little weird. It doesn't look like animal blood. It looks like human blood. And he's like, okay, this is a little suspicious and stuff. And he goes into town, and he sees this weird guy who ends up being Robert, who passes by him and giving him this weird look. And he's like, who is this person? I've seen this person before. And you see him walk into his bakery shop, and
The guy's a baker?
yeah, that's why they call him the Butcher Baker. He owned a bakery.
That's such a harmless thing to be, a baker.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
The Muffin Man is a murderer.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right? And in real life, he had like a family with like 2 kids and stuff. And so anyways,
Dude.
so the husband comes back, and it's late night, and so the husband gets woken up in the middle of the night, and the wife is like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? He goes out into the middle of the woods, and he finds this woman screaming, running in the middle of the woods, and he catches her. It's like, are you okay? She's like covered in blood and stuff, and she's got like a bullet hole on her leg, and she just passes out. And he's got like this big metal axe that he was chopping wood with earlier, and he leaves it on the floor, picks up the girl, and then goes back to the cabin. And eventually it gets revealed that the wife is actually the wife of Robert Hansen in my story, and they were actually collaborating together to prepare the husband for the ultimate kill game for Robert.
That's
So because he was so tired
he
of
was
killing
up
women,
next.
so the husband was actually up next for Robert to kill and
Damn.
hunt.
And
So
he kind of used this woman as bait, or like...
so the Michael's wife, Sierra, is actually the wife of Robert Hansen.
Yeah.
And
So she's like a polygamist.
she basically...
Which is on brand for this level of crazy.
Yeah, so she basically gets...
Alaska's a fucking wild territory, bro.
Yeah.
Should be going down there.
Yeah, so...
That's wild.
So the reason why
Okay.
I call it tracks
So you
is
said
because
he's seen him before.
he's seen him before because he's a local baker in the
Right.
shop,
Local
and he
baker.
had no idea what he just looked really weird and suspicious. And he comes in eventually Robert comes into the cabin where they live 3 hours out of Fairbanks, and he's just like, what are you doing here? Like, now he's like all tied up because he got shot with a tranquilizer dart, and they release him out into the wild after explaining their evil plot. Typical villain kind of thing. And then Michael ends up getting the better of them and kills Sierra first. Like,
That's
personal
gnarly.
the personal vendetta of like, you lied to me for an entire year. I thought you loved me. I thought I loved you. I still love you. And it's like a very heartfelt scene where he actually has to kill
This
her.
kind of sounds like some Get Out shit. And
Dude,
that's-
I
you
was
know what
thinking Get
mean?
Out too.
You know when he has to kill his girlfriend?
Oh,
Mhm.
God.
It's like, nah.
and
Gnarly.
then he actually goes and kills the Robert Hansen and stuff, and it's like in this final scene. So in the beginning of the movie, you see Michael, the main character, chopping wood in half, and then where he meets up with Robert is where he left the axe when he went to go search for the girl. And at the very end, you see Michael split Robert's head down the middle. So
Damn.
ends where it begins.
So
the
you're
splitting of something.
So would the scene be like you just like a monotonous chop of wood,
Oh,
chop of wood,
so the
and then
opening
the illusion
scene-
dude in the end would be
opening
like
scene-
same exact angle and everything, just bang. Like,
yeah,
maybe a couple spurts
opening
of lead.
shot is like you on a vertical chopping wood, and then the ending shot is
yeah. The original shot would be it would be solely focused on that one log, and then all of a sudden you see the piece of or the
Axe.
axe go down and chop the
Yeah.
wood in half, and then another wood would be put on
Yeah.
top and it would be motionless.
right.
And then
Again, yeah.
and then at the very end you would see Robert going like no, and you see the axe, and then you see Michael walk away in the distance
Damn,
in a blurred background.
damn,
So
that's crazy.
and that's
Dude, what if you did like where it was like the axe comes down, same exact angle, and you just see like blood come up. You don't know who swung it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And it leaves it. Now you do want to tie it
The
up in a nice
ambiguity,
little.
though.
yeah.
You want to tie it up in a.
That's so. I mean, I love suggestions, and people. Every time I explain stories to the or these scripts to people, like primarily my parents and my dad loves to give me.
I'm sure.
Shout out, Dad, to what I could do in the stories and all that stuff, and it's I love hearing new things because I love adding new things. That makes everything so much better. Because that makes me feel that people are truly interested in listening to what my ideas are.
That's cool.
And as
You
a
made a very good story.
yeah. So, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And those are some of the scripts that I've written so far, and I've come up with other ones that are
Cool.
kind of just in the thought process.
So,
Yeah, I love the titles
to
also.
potentially
you.
The titles are like you got a knack for that. Tracks is such a good name for that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Ash and Cash tracks.
And Mimic Me is like cool.
You're using
All
a
those
lot
are
of
great.
different. What are those called? Like that's alliteration. Ash and Cash is
There's a
also-
rhyme and
yeah.
then tracks
Yeah.
on and
I like it. I like it. All right, so to kind of wrap up here, we kind of wanted to ask now that you have a couple, 3 big scripts under your belt in terms of stuff that's written and finished. So kind of outline what your plans are for the launch of your film career, if you can, real quick.
So, I think right now my plan is I got one more year at Orange Coast College, and I'm going to be finishing up my GEs and stuff. I'm done with all my film classes there, which I'm glad to be done with before COVID hit.
Right.
That would have been extremely difficult. I don't know how I would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm looking to transfer to Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach, to further my film career there.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
And I mean, like, I know that I've had a kind of a slow path to get to here, but as some people may say, slow and steady win the race.
Yeah.
Slow and steady win the race. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so that's kind of what my plan is, and then just looking for stuff in Hollywood to work at, just studios and stuff.
What's the script selling process like?
So the script selling process is you take your script and you can take it around to different studios and stuff, and you give them their little elevator pitch, and that's part of the process of how I write as well, is you've got to come up with a log line, which is like 2 to 3 sentences that explains what your script is.
Mm-hmm.
That's so tough.
And yeah, right?
Especially
And
like,
trying to explain
120-page script?
yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Dude.
Right? Exactly. So try and come up with that and put it in 2 lines. And then you go to the bulletin board and you put all these post-it notes on how the structure of it works, and then you can start getting into your writing it down on your laptop or a piece of paper. And I think that just giving the log line to the studios, and it's really hard as a new director. You have to have a couple things under your belt, and you have to know. The main thing in Hollywood is you have to know people.
Totally, yeah.
You have to know
It's
people.
all about who you know.
It's all about who you know.
That's like an insider club for sure.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg didn't get where he is just because he's a really good filmmaker. Like, he started by knowing somebody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, there's a lot of filmmakers that, don't get me wrong, are extremely good, and they got to where they are because of how many projects they've done and who saw them.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have a little foot in the door
Totally.
before you even get that script to that person that's actually going to read it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Film school is probably a good start. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
professors that you'll go to school with at Cal State. We'll have relationships with people that might be at USC or UCLA or Chapman,
Mhm.
or even in the industry, probably in the industry.
Yeah.
That's great, man. So now we're gonna wrap things up with our only recurring segment, which is the What's Up Doc. We're big fans. I was gonna say, like, did you play that Looney Tunes game on PS2 back in the day? I don't know if you remembered, but that was
I
like.
was never into video
the
games.
big,
Don't bring it. You brought this out last time. No one knew who you're talking about.
All right,
No one's
I
played the
thought
Looney Tunes
he was the
game
one.
with
I
this kid.
had buddies that I would play with it back in the day, but
Maybe
a
we did,
documentary-
but like it was a vague.
a documentary recommendation that you have for the people. Do you have any in mind?
There's one that I watched. I'm gonna go with Filthy Rich, the Jeffrey Epstein story.
Oh
Oof.
shit!
Yeah, and I think that's very good to bring up right now, especially in the heightened time of everything that's coming out with Glendewell Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell?
Maxwell.
What? Yeah, her name's really hard to pronounce.
Right.
Jeez.
That
So-
lady, everybody involved in that is so
I
sketchy.
think, yeah, like I
Also,
had,
new news about Bill Clinton dropping like 2 days ago.
yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic to bring up because I never really knew when the whole like Jeffrey Epstein died and stuff. Like I never really knew. I'm pretty sure none of us really knew
Yeah, the
who this guy
implications,
was.
right.
And like when you watch this documentary, you really see the monster that this
Oh,
man is.
absolute monster.
It's horrible, but it's so eye opening.
Somehow
Right.
he's not alone.
Yeah,
Right. The-
She and
the
other
frustrating
people.
part
I
is
feel like
she and other people are more than complicit.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like, for me, it was so disgusting to come to the realization that, like, as horrible as he was, somehow he was able to surround himself with people that were
Even
similar.
more. Yeah.
Maybe
Right.
worse. You know, it's
Well,
just like,
and
Equally as sick
all
as he
all
was.
people
So
of
bad.
power, all public figures too, and who knows if obviously Epstein can't snitch on anybody. He's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell, who knows what's gonna happen to her? She's in the same. She's in the same
boat.
she's about to go trip down the
She's
stairwell.
literally in the
somewhere,
same prison
yeah.
that Epstein was in New York. It's just like, okay, we'll see what happens,
I'm surprised that she has lasted this long. Honestly.
Right. Like on Twitter, the second she came into custody, it's like she's gonna die of like COVID-19 mysteriously.
High key, I would be totally fine with them offering her a total immunity deal to unleash everything. Because she will get murdered as
Who
soon as
knows,
she gets.
dude? Who knows if the
She
power
will
be
get
involved.
murdered as soon as she gets released. Either way, you know what I mean. But at
Yeah.
least it would
Bound to
incentivize her to
And-
tell.
Did you see Tekashi
It's true, 'cause I
6ix9ine
wanna-
is posting Instagram live videos everywhere now? Like this
Yeah.
guy is being so ignorant. He's in LA. The guy's wild. Yeah, dude. Thanks for bringing up that documentary. I'm sure, like when that dropped, anybody who has
I know it's
Nef-
a little like it's
anybody
not
who has
new,
Netflix
relatively.
probably either wanted to watch it or didn't watch it. It's been
I
out
couldn't
for
make
a
it through
while.
the first episode. It was so.
It's very disturbing.
hard to
and,
watch.
just hearing how young how many of these victims were, and
so sad.
his thing with the massages, like how he would get like so many
Yeah.
of them a day. It was so
Dude,
weird.
there's a special place in hell for them. It's just
Seriously.
awful.
Oh, what's
Like,
crazy is too is how the other girls that originally got like roped into this, how did they? What mental state were they in to bring
Yeah.
other girls into this?
They're
They're like,
all-
just come do this with me.
Everybody is all
It's like,
so vulnerable
what?
in this situation. It's
Yeah,
wild.
it's awful.
Yeah.
So that was a very eye opening. Thanks for bringing that up. The one I want to pitch this week to you guys is a documentary that Brad Pitt produced actually back in 2015.
Oh.
It's called Big Men on Hulu, and it was really cool. It was this documentary about how this one geologist, this geologist from Ghana, found an oil reserve off the coast of Ghana, and basically didn't sell the government enough on it, so the government didn't invest any money in trying to manufacture it. So he had to go and outsource funding to different companies across the world, and then the company that eventually invested in it was a company based in Dallas, Texas, and they
They like
ended
their
up-
oil.
huh?
They like the
Right,
oil.
like a basically a oil PE company and like gas company based out of Texas that just makes these extremely risky, like, you know, new frontier investments, are just absolutely cranking money out of this deal. And since like these countries are really naive essentially and like trying to bring in foreign investment, stuff like that, like they give these initial investors like really, really loose terms that they like really abuse. So it's like kind of plots the whole story of like them developing the oil rig and like discussing like the profitability of it, and they like lied a lot about like the value of oil, and you know simultaneously
Wow.
the oil prices were crashing for various reasons. So the documentary was really cool, and Brad Pitt, I didn't know he was that good at directing. Like he did a great job.
Wow.
Really cool.
It takes a special person to direct a documentary,
Yeah.
honestly. I've heard of people doing documentaries, and it takes them like 20 years to make those documentaries. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sweet, what do you got?
So you guys have all probably heard it. It's Free Solo by Alex. Not by Alex. It's the Alex Honnold story. So this guy is a world-class rock climber, but what he's really started to revolutionize is the act of free climbing, which is climbing without anything to save you from dying, basically.
No ropes.
He free solos El Capitan, which is
One of the most difficult, like,
one of the
climbs
most difficult.
in the world.
So, and free solo is really neat too because they give you a little bit of context into the like history of climbing too.
Mm-hmm.
These used to be day-long ascents, you know, by the best mountaineers of their times. You know, they'd sleep on the face of the wall. This guy does it in like 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Just hauls ass up this.
Oh, yeah.
And fearless of death. And there's actually one scene where he's looking down, and he looks down and he gets spooked, and he's like a freaking, you know, half a mile in the sky at this point.
Well, he has that. He doctors and
So,
like,
yeah.
said that he can't produce like the hormone that produces.
He doesn't
Yeah.
have the fear hormone,
Right.
and they're actually using him to just like to do, you know, a little bit of like,
Testing.
you know, or just like get more insight into other extreme sports athletes, but also like people that don't have the fear hormone. You know what I mean? That like don't produce fear and therefore make pretty reckless decisions. You should watch it. Alex Honnold is a different type of beast too, because there's something up with him.
Right. He's
Oh,
he's definitely off, awkward. He has a girlfriend that he like doesn't even seem like he likes.
I think they're married now.
Yeah, it's just in the documentary he's made out to like not give a shit about this person.
Which
I
is
think that's
totally
pretty
not
true.
true, though.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like it's pretty true. Like, all he does is climb. He's obsessed with climbing.
Well, yeah, and she's like, if I ever asked you to like stop climbing, like, would you do it? And he's like, no.
No. Maybe like, dude, high key, she was annoying. But I watch it, make up your own. I mean, she dropped him from a very far.
Right. I forgot.
That was not chill.
I forgot that was
that.
a big part of it.
Yeah.
The fact that he like didn't really trust her anymore.
Yeah, dude, she dropped. That was not cool, honestly. Yeah.
I
But
don't know. If you've been rock climbing and somebody drops you, you lose a shred of respect for them.
not more than a shred.
Especially
You're not
if
letting you hold me anymore.
Especially
Yeah,
if they're your
right?
significant other. Oof.
Yeah.
That'll give you some trust issues.
And she kept making it all about him. She's like, well, if Alex dies, like, I'll just be so sad. And I'm like, no, like if Alex dies, like, he stops living.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, the problem is that he's not alive anymore. Like, she was
Right.
really focused on it. But you should watch it. It is
Yeah.
freaking nuts.
All three of those documentaries
it's-
are very
yeah.
worth
Yeah.
watch. But yeah, I think that's a wrap for episode 7. Thank you so much to Matt Saucedo for
Yeah,
joining
man,
of
us,
course.
for making
Dropped
the drive
some
up from
huge
OC.
knowledge, too.
That's
Yes,
a real
of
one.
course.
We hope
glad.
you guys enjoyed what we got. Tell them where your handles are, how they can follow you.
Yeah, so my film Instagram is sauce_productions. That is my nickname, Sauce, Matt Saucedo. So you can follow me there. I push most of my content out of there. My YouTube channel is also Sauce Productions. Follow me there as well. Those are my main two. If you want to follow me there, thank
Right
you
on.
guys. I'll have some new content coming out because the whole COVID-19 thing, it's brought me a lot of time to work on unedited footage. I have a video of New Zealand coming out. I have a video of Northern California coming out. There's going to be so much more that's going to be coming out, and I can't wait for you guys to all watch it.
Right
So
Thank you so much for
thank you
your
guys so
time
much.
and dropping some knowledge on us.
Yeah, of course.
And that was awesome.
Peace, guys. We'll see you next week.